And by day, I am a graphic designer, so I'm a creative professional. So I have a lot of those skills that sort of go into content creation, which is part of the reason why my channel grew really quick. And of course, now you can find me not only on my own channel, just called Deadly Headley on YouTube, but I co-host the Xbox Series podcast with Acer from Game On Daily and Gamsley as well. And we have an awesome time over there every Thursday.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. No, I appreciate you being here and a lot of interesting information. I did not know you had a journalism degree. So we have leveled up our show and our takes, and hopefully we will keep it on brand. And of course, right on time, late, but always on time. The man who likes the PCMR in the bedroom, Mr. Everborn Saga.
Hey,
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
What's happening? First of all, hello to Mr. Deadly Headley. How you doing, sir? First
Good
time
morning,
joining
mate.
us here. So I'm excited about this conversation. And you have a journalism degree, which puts you probably above 80% of the games journalism people in the business.
I wasn't going to say it.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, the slander is going to be deep this morning. I can tell. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. No, that's good.
I'm very excited. Very excited. Happy Saturday to everybody, and shout out to the chat. I already see Mr. Dark in here. I see the Dutch. I see Infinite Umbra. So Live Supremacy. How's everybody doing? And shout out to all the channel members who should be up at the bottom. I hope that they are, Mr. K. Asante, because they need their shout
They
out.
weren't,
Thank you
but they
very
are
much.
now.
There we go. There we go.
There you
know what I
go.
want to start
There you
doing? I want to start shouting out everybody who is a member, so I'm going to do that right now. Victor Allison,
Okay.
Mr. Doovie, BT Maverick 707, Mr. Xbot, the Longhouse Gaming Podcast, the Blue Number, Young Dreads the Artist, Palpy Teen, Pick On Fusion, Derek Johnson, it's Timmy V2, Ballantone, L Paul, Neo Mental, Big Bad Mo, J Mac, Dave Ramos, Basement Radio Arcade, Barap, Slow Mo Backslap, John Wolf, JD Gamer, Pixelbit G, Hargeet Chani, MJ Dark, Rodney Williams, Craig Campbell, Victor Alistine, and that is all. So we're gonna do that every week. You guys support the channel, so I want to shout you guys out every week.
Absolutely. No, we appreciate y'all, man. This is great. This is great. Thank you for doing that. We should be doing a lot more of that. We appreciate it. Thank you. And of course, that Blue Number, who was a member, has renewed her membership. Thank you so much, Holly. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. I appreciate you being here.
Welcome back.
But you know what we'll do? We will also do a little bit of housekeeping notes before we get into this thing, right? I wouldn't be a good host unless I told you to please hit that like button, because the algorithm must be fed. Our overlords, they need us. Also, I will ask you to let folks know we're here. Also, don't forget to let everybody know that today is the day, CIS 2024. And that is the Community Indie Showcase by my man, the Great Wandering Dutch. He always puts on a great show. I think this is the 4th annual CIS 2024. So right at the top, we need to let people know. I think it's 2:00 Eastern Standard. Calculate that out where you live. Make sure you're there.
7 p.m. UK time for anyone listening.
7 p.m. There you go. There you go. Make sure you're there. Make sure you show some support. You know, we always complain about how we don't like seeing what we see. He's being a little FUBU with it. You know what I'm saying? He's doing it for us, by us. So why don't you join him? Show some support. Let him know you appreciate it. And like last year and the years before, he usually has some nuggets that you only find there. And then people go, oh, did you see that great thing on the Xbox show? Yeah, it was on CIS before that. So keep an eye out. There's always some interesting things on there. Shout out to the Great Wandering Dutch. We appreciate you for your continued support. And we hope this is more successful than last year's and onward and upward. Thank you so much for continuing to do that hard work. I for one, am grateful. I am grateful.
Can the chat hear me? I hear I'm very low. Can you guys hear me?
You are a little low. Let me see if I can mess with your mic a little bit, sir. How about you microphone check 1 2 for us a little bit?
What can you do from StreamYards with my mic? I thought that was all controlled by them.
It is controlled by you and them, but I can go in the background here and I can, because StreamYard defaults to automatic adjustment of mic. I can remove that automatic adjustment and turn you all the way up and see if that helps. Okay, so that's what I've just done.
This works. Chat, how do I sound now?
Oh
Am I
yeah,
louder?
the man is. Oh yeah, he's
Much better.
he's in 3D now. That's right. There you go.
All right, there we go.
There you go. Yes, yes. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all for being here. I put the Discord link in the chat. If you are not a member of our Discord, consider being a member of our Discord. We always have fun in there. We will be doing a giveaway today. Per Mr. Mr. Ever PCMR Saga says Mr. MJ Dark. Before we even continue,
First
MJ
of all,
Dark,
it is not
shout out, super chat.
PCMR. It is CEG. That is Console Experience
yeah,
Gamer. We
Yeah,
are
whatever,
starting a
bro.
movement.
Whatever, bro.
It's good.
You see this? You see this? You see this? You see this? Spin Master is what he is. Ever Spin Master Saga. That's what he is. Yes. Mr. MJ Dark with a $5 super chat. He says, shout out to Ever PCMR Saga, who didn't know he couldn't lock his FPS and change his frame rates to improve his games on the deck. He likes the the console experience. Yeah, to each his own. The man likes his console experience. Let him be. I just don't think. I just don't appreciate that him buying a Pinto and calling it a rocket ship. It is what it is. It's a PC, people. That's what it is. Let's keep it moving. It's fine. It's fine. But yes, we will be doing a giveaway today, and we'll be doing it in interesting fashion. I have been playing Tales of Kenzera. I think Everborn, you have been playing Tales of Kenzera. Deadly Headley, I will ask you. We'll get there in a moment. If you've been playing it or not, or what you've been playing in general. But we figure this would be an opportune moment to support the indie devs. So we will be giving a free copy of Tales of Kenzera away today on any platform of your choice, because obviously Tales of Kenzera can be found everywhere. You want it on your PlayStation, you want it on your Xbox, you want it on Switch, you want it on PC, wherever you want to play it, it is available. So I will be using StreamYard's PC giveaway picker, which is a new thing that I have not used. I shout out to Boomstick; he uses it pretty frequently. And we'll be putting some names in the chat. We'll be putting some keywords in the chat. And if you win, you reach out to me, and you can choose a code from whichever platform you wish, and we will make sure we get that to you in the DMs. So that will be later in this program. Actually, you know what? I will start that stuff right now. I'm going to start collecting it. And what you want to use, ladies and gentlemen, is support the indie devs. Hashtag support the indie devs. Just like I've put it in our chat right now. Please, if you want to win a copy of that, throw that in there. The collector will start picking up the names, and we will draw somewhere in the middle of our show. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for being here. And somebody will win that Tales of Kenzera code. Shout out to the man Paris Lily for being here as well. I see you in there, brother. Shout out to Infinite Umbra and all the fine folks, Sith Lord. It's amazing to have y'all here.
Starting with the slander early. I see this.
Of course he does. That's what he's here for, man. That's what he's here for. He says you should have Everborn give away copies of Sonic, as that will be the only way anyone might consider playing it. Ooh.
Speaking of Sonic, fantastic. I watched the first episode of Knuckles last night. Came out yesterday.
Work has been killing me, bro. I've missed all of this stuff. How is it, by the way?
It's just like the movies in turn. Like you have, if you're into that comedy, but like, I think what made the lowest part of the movies were when the humans were on screen. Because I really feel like the Sonic movies should have been full CG. Because when they were in the CG segments, doing the acts and stuff, doing the callbacks, it worked really well. And the show is a lot of the human parts, which were less interesting in the movie to me. Because like the only like real life thing in the show that was interesting was Jim Carrey, and he's obviously not in the show. So
can't afford that, man.
But the humor, if you like the humor in the show, like if you're gonna watch it with your kids, I think your kids will enjoy it. It just, the first episode was, to me, all the worst parts about the movie. So in other words, it does not pass the Everborn seal of approval. I mean, it's good to watch with young kids. I'll say that. Okay. But it doesn't have the same oomph that you get when like Sonic and Knuckles were fighting, and you saw Tails pick him up, and they did the whole thing. So, but it's a 6-episode thing. They say it leads into the third movie, which is going to have Keanu Reeves as Shadow. So I'm gonna watch it. I just really feel I hope that the third movie they go off world so the whole thing can be CG. But we'll see what happens. I did chuckle
okay.
a few times. I will say that.
A few. So it had low chuckles per second, but it was all right.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Definitely better than Rebel Moon Part 2.
Oh, don't do that, bro. You know they're gonna come for you if you do that. So Deadly Henley, what you don't know is this man has been a one-man cap band for Rebel Moon for the first one, which secretly I enjoyed for what it was. It's a good popcorn movie. It's crap, but it's a good popcorn affair, right? But he's been one-man band on this one, and Part 2, even he couldn't admit he couldn't let that one ride.
I had to
turn off. This is and the rest are gonna come for you.
This is on Netflix, isn't it? It's like fairly new. Okay,
yeah,
I haven't got around.
It is the hard R. Get it? The hard R Star Wars.
Oh man,
you know where we're going.
I got 1 hour into it, and it's a 2-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't take it anymore. And I know they moved the action to the back half, but the first half was just so not good. I was like, I had to walk out. Maybe I'll finish it one day, just like because I'm a masochist. But like, it is legitimately terrible. But I should have known that if in the lead up to the movie, if the director is talking about the director's cut, you know that movie is going to be a crap show. So,
right. They should focus you on what you're watching now, not on the next thing. But it seemed like that's where they were going. So I expect that from that man. I will say, since we're in our little bit of the on the real minute, speaking of shows and movies and stuff, I have been watching a few things with my kids that I want to make mention.
I finished Fallout also, but go ahead.
Oh, you did? So did I. I finished it with the wifey. We enjoyed it. Absolutely awesome. We'll put a pin in that because there's a story related to that I want to get back to. But I will say my kids and I, the indoctrination is deep now. We're in Dragon Ball Z territory now. We're totally watching all these episodes of DBZ because the kids are into it. So I'm like, hey, man, I'll watch the thing I used to watch when I was 10. Why not? But what I want to bring up is, have y'all heard of this show called Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur?
No.
It is wholly new creation. I think it's on Disney Plus. We watch it on Apple TV. You know, we got the season. It is quite awesome. It's Marvel, so it pulls from all sources. She's a little 7 or 13-year-old teenage girl who's going to school, who happens to be like the most genius person in the world, and because of that, she turns into a superhero and starts inventing things. And like every episode, they pull from different parts of the Marvel universe. Like the latest one that we watched, she's super excited because she has to go to like what do you call it? They're creating a robot contest where they're battling robots, and the guest professor that's sponsoring her is a professor that came to visit them from Wakanda. And she's like, oh, wow. You know, she's a professor from Wakanda, and like how they teach their students, and she wants to. It's really good, like really, good. And it's like very pro black and very, very empowering to my little one. My girl loves it. You know, music is great. I think people should watch it. It's quite good. Like you know, sometimes they go a little bit too far in some of these things. This was spot on. Like my daughter has like eaten all 2 seasons and she wants more. So. If you want something that's interesting, it's geared for children, but I really like how they're playing in the Marvel world, and they're adding characters from various places. Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
On that subject, I actually really liked. I think it's Miss Marvel as well. It's like quite a short series. I think it's only like 6 episodes. Marvel's first sort of. First Muslim character, definitely first female Muslim character.
Love that show.
Cultural insights.
Kamala Khan, yes,
so beautiful.
Yes,
lovely show.
Yes, I loved it. Hilarious. Their family was huge. She's so funny. Like it is awesome. I'm a big fan of that show myself as well. Yes,
it's really.
But okay. So that was your on the real minute for real quick. But let's get this thing started.
If we're on the real, we're not going to talk about Fallout. No Fallout show.
Well, we're not.
Circle back. We can circle back.
We can circle back because look, man, this is the problem, and I hate to give Paris more flowers on this right now, but this is the problem. We still don't know if everyone has seen all the episodes yet, right? So I don't want to be spoiling things for people right now. Maybe we wait until the statute of limitation is far removed. You know what I mean? I'm sure there are some people in this chat right now that are like, no, I'm only up to
chat. Who is watching this show that hasn't already watched Fallout?
See, there he goes. There he goes. Right? You see, now he's just taking the victory lap. You see what's going on? There you go. You see, this is what happens, man. But he's right.
About the Fallout show, I thought it was fantastic, but we have got a Fallout story coming up, so I think we can tie it to that.
Absolutely. So, okay,
that's that journalism degree talking right there.
Right. You got to go where it leads, man. You got to go where the story leads, sir. So, Deadly Headley, you are our guest. Let's start with you. What games have been keeping you busy this week, sir?
So this week I have been playing Tales of Kinzera whenever I can. I've struggled for time this week, to be honest. It has been one of those. Yep. I also, partly for the purposes of discussion, because I know this game is coming up as well, I finished the Stellar Blade demo this morning.
Yes.
I haven't checked that out yet. So yeah, a little player with that. I usually run some Halo Infinite whenever I've got a little bit of free time. I love the multiplayer on Halo Infinite. And I haven't played it this week, but I've been obsessed with Baldur's Gate for the last few months since that came out to Xbox as well. So yeah, really enjoying myself with those games.
Have you tried Dragon's Dogma yet? Dragon's Dogma 2?
Not yet. So I really want to play Dragon's Dogma, but I struggle mentally. I struggle to be able to like commit to that with my full chest when I already have a fantasy RPG on the go.
This is why I was asking. This is why I was asking. Yes. Excellent. So you're waiting until the patches are all in. You're waiting until it's at its best, and by then maybe you'll be done with Baldur's Gate 2 as well.
Definitely waiting until I've rolled credits on Baldur's Gate 3, and I've put together some sort of review or content to talk about how it's changed my life, because it has. But I need to finish that game before I can, in good conscience, put that video together. But yeah, I've loved my time there.
Awesome, sir. How about you, Mr. Everborn Saga? I know you've been playing some things. What you been playing, sir?
All right, I did a little bit of Harold Halibut. I did the opening of it. A lot of people said it starts slow, but I think as a sci-fi nerd, the hook of the premise of what the game is, you're on a ship to another planet, and you crash landed on the planet, and then it turns out that there was no life there, and it's all water and no land. And so they had to build underwater lodgings for humanity to survive, and now they're making contact. All that stuff has drawn me in, so I will come back to that. The only reason I stopped playing that is because Tales of Kinzera came out, which I was very excited for. I double dipped on it, although I have not played it on the Xbox yet because this whole console experience gamer thing.
He likes the PCMR in the bedroom. I'm just saying.
Well, so hold on now. As everyone knows, I'm doing this project of turning the PC into a console through big picture mode, connecting to the TV, doing the whole turn on the Xbox, the PC with the controller, and all that stuff. And that's actually been working really great. There are like minor hiccups, so it's like 95% of the way there, but the benefits that I get from it have been tenfold. So that 5% of annoyance that comes with PC really has not overshadowed the benefits. And what I'm talking about in terms of benefits is, one, there's performance, but as you know, if you've listened to this show any amount of time, I'm not like a stickler for frame rates or graphics or whatever, but things just run and play better. I'm not playing with any settings. I'm only interacting with this thing with the controller. Big picture mode is great, but the benefit here is Steam cloud saves are amazing. And I would say probably better than what Xbox is doing. And this, aside from the fact that it's free, but who cares? I'm paying for Game Pass anyway, so it might as well be free on Xbox. But playing Zao right now and all the other games, right? I will play them on the big OLED TV. I will then immediately, and I'm talking about within seconds, pick up the Steam Deck, launch the same game in the same UI, and I am at the same place. And it just happens in the background. It's perfect. I can play that same game. This is the real difference that I get between, say, playing on the Xbox console and then running to the ROG Ally, because those are still two ecosystems, right? One's PC, maybe you have cross save, maybe you don't, maybe you have cross buy, maybe you don't, maybe the developer integrated cross progression, maybe they didn't, who knows, right? When
That's
you're
Gen
doing
Pop,
it
man.
all
Gen Pop.
within, right, when you're doing it all within one ecosystem, it just works. And so I get my console experience, 95% of it, connected to the TV where I game, and then I get my on the go Steam Deck experience, and it's been great. So there's that. Now, Zao, I will say, so just to talk about that for a little bit, I love it, right? My game of the year so far is Prince of Persia. I think it would still be, I'm not finished with this, but I think it would still. Should I though? Should I?
I'm just gonna put the slam. Just keep it moving. You go ahead.
Wait a minute. Paris, where should I play Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Oh man, let's not talk
okay.
about it. What
All
are
right.
we doing?
All
What
right.
are we doing?
All right. So anyway,
Okay.
but unless he knows something I don't. So Zao is I would still put Prince of Persia above it. So I gave Prince of Persia like a 9.5 out of 10 just because I think it lasted a little bit too long. I think I would give, so far, being halfway through it, Zao, and we'll see how it ends, but I'm going to give it an 8.5 right now. I love the story. The visuals are great. The voice acting is like amazing, right?
Have you tried the Swahili voice acting with the
I
subtitles?
have not.
That
I was
must be
thinking
something
about
else.
switching it over.
It's
I want
real
to try
good.
that.
It's
But
real good,
here's what
yeah.
I love about it. And you tell me if I'm wrong. Even though they're speaking English, these are native Africans that are
Yes,
doing
you can hear
even
it.
the
Yes.
English dub. You hear it
Absolutely.
in the accents,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And to
this is
me-
not a fake African accent. These are real English speakers using African accents to do so. Yes. Yes. We're Africans using English. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And again, it's not just like people reading lines, because a lot of games that are voiced over, they kind of phone it in. You could tell like these are video game voice actors. These guys are really like top class, and everyone is bringing their A game. And the story is so emotional. And once you get halfway through it, you kind of see where it's going, and you see what Zao has to learn, and he just won't get it through his head. But you know it's gonna smack him in the face when it really comes around. That's me not spoiling anything. I think that I hope that didn't spoil anything, but you guys get what I'm saying. I think the combat feels great. It feels punchy. One critique that I would give it is that I think you are too powerful to start off with.
I enjoyed
really
that. I enjoyed that you could literally like traverse the world quickly, and it's like in other Metroidvanias you build up to it. This one you start like super powerful, flying all over the place. You know?
I just feel like in the other Metroidvanias, let's talk Prince of Persia, let's talk Metroid Dread, let's talk obviously Ori, or what's the sequel we're waiting on? That everyone Silk Song. Right?
Silk Song. Yes.
So
Silk Song with what do you call it? Hollow Knight. You start like, so you need 14 hours in that game before you feel like you're somewhat.
I don't think you need to do that far. And I think Prince of Persia was a little like they were stingy with that double jump. You didn't get it till almost the end.
Until almost the end.
I get it. However, I think I didn't spoil anything. Stop it, slow mo.
There it goes.
But because the problem is if you start him where they start him, the ceiling just becomes lower of the things that you can get, right? So the powers that you the skill tree isn't that long, and I know the game also isn't that long, especially considering like Ori and Prince of Persia are like 20 and 40 hour games,
double digit
right?
hours. Yeah.
But the because you start off able to do so much, I don't know that I appreciate all the powers that I have. I know they make you use them, and there are some slightly questionable platforming mechanics in it. But again, these are minor critiques. I absolutely love this game. I love how the combat feels. I love the story they're telling. I love the acting. I love the art direction. Like, this is really, really good. I would say it's up there with Prince of Persia and maybe even Ori. Ori is a little bit more cinematic, so is Prince of Persia. But again, you have to think about the budget. Like, for this being their first game from this studio is nothing short of amazing. And I love the menu system. I love the interface. But just again, slight quibbles. I don't like the way the dash feels. I also don't think you should have started out with dash, but the dash feels, it's too. I don't know.
It seems like it goes further than it should.
Yeah, it's and it moves a little bit too fast. So I would. And again, because I'm looking at this, every 2D platformer game I play, I look at it in terms of the mechanics I'm building and the mechanics of the top ones in the genre. And so to me, it moves weird compared to every other dash in a game like this.
Yeah, I get that.
And maybe if you started out with one mask and then you earned the other one, I feel like I would have felt better about it.
I hear what you're saying. The reason why I was saying I enjoyed it is how you see me moving here. This was my first playthrough. Well, I played the demo, but this is my first playthrough of the proper game. And I'm already moving like I'm 10 hours in, right? You're already like jump. You're already sliding. You're already like, usually I do get your critique though. Usually you earn up to that stuff. So when you get there, you finally feel so empowered. Since you start with that here, it can get diminishing returns after a while. I do understand what you're saying, but it is fun to start that way, though. You know,
but the thing is, when you have to work for it, and it takes you longer to get it, and they focus in on
you value it
core
more.
mechanics. Not only do you value it more, but you get to do more things with it. You'll chain them together differently. You've been trained more, and I feel like there are powers that he has that I forget about. Also, the supers that you get out of the gate, I just think those are just way too powerful, right? Because you do them and everybody's dead, right? That being said, so I do feel like the game is on the easy side again compared to its contemporaries.
He says to me while I just die. Continue, yes.
But this is listen, a staple of GCP, Mr. Headley, if you don't know, is Kei Asante's terrible gameplay that he captures.
He says, but never offering his own gameplay.
Don't worry about that.
Continue. Don't worry about that.
But what I will say is, I did find I had a lot of trouble on the first boss, not the second boss, but the first boss. I actually ended up switching it to journalist mode to fight that boss, and then switching it back. I know Slow-Mo's going to come at me for that, but I could not tell where the hit boxes were. I understand the story purpose for it, right? Like I totally
Good point,
get
by
that.
the way. Yes. Shout out to Luke Lord. He says, but Zhao is already a powerful shaman and he still lost his Baba. I think that's a powerful message.
It is.
Yeah.
But this isn't a movie; it's a game, right? And
hey, man, the man is a movie maker, so he brings his movie sensibilities into this stuff.
I totally get it. I'm just saying, like, I really listen. This is not me. Like, again, I absolutely love this game, and it's taken me away from everything else that I was playing. And we'll come to the other game that I played that I put down to come right back to this.
Yes. We'll talk about that as well.
But as a Metroidvania, as the subject matter, which you don't get a lot of this and not at this quality, I think is great. Performance on Steam Deck, and this is what Mr. Dark was talking about. It's been a mixed bag in terms of performance. Not that I care. It's nothing that has taken me out of playing it, because that's where most of my playtime is on it. I probably did. I'm like 5 hours into it. 1 hour was on the TV and 4 hours were on the Steam Deck. And so it's great.
I would imagine the OLED
life.
pops on this game on Steam Deck.
Yeah, Steam Deck OLED, absolutely, and the OLED on the TV too. But the thing that I'll say is it dips a lot, and I mean like into the 30s even though it's set to 60 FPS and everything's on low. What we got a $10 super chat from Slomo.
Yeah, we'll start. We'll start from the top. Let's start from the top. Yes.
But
finish
anyway,
up,
so
and
we'll come to that. So,
Yes.
I like the progression. I like the story. I just think, and again, it may be the nature that the game is so short. You have to start from here, because maybe if it was a 20-hour game, then they could make you work for it. And what you have in the beginning is what you have at the halfway point.
Right? Then you get the Hollow Knight criticism that you work too long to get the basics, right? You couldn't in the beginning of Hollow Knight, you couldn't even pick yourself on the map because you needed to get something to show you where you were on a map, right?
I get that. I guess what I'm saying is the game is so good that I want more of it, and I want to explore more of the mechanics. And because you start out with all that, you really only get to you
only go so far with it.
Right.
Do you feel like you being given too much too soon is sort of taken away from some of that experience directly? Then, like, it could have felt longer. It could have felt like there was more to personal development if you were actually given the opportunity to earn that. Then,
yes, that's it. And I don't know, maybe you start that story before his dad dies, and you learn that stuff, and then you get here, so you could still have the same powerful arc and narrative.
Maybe even if some of those teachings actually came from his father as well, and there was a little bit more storytelling there. I mean, more opportunity.
You do hear what he says at the beginning of this game, right? Which is the beginning of his story is the ending of another. So that's why he's probably where he is, right? It's not the beginning of his story. It's just the beginning of a new story.
It's very true.
And it's also called Tales of Kinzara. It could be a different, and he's already telegraphed this. He wants to build the universe, maybe get an opportunity to flesh it out more. So, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing this grow and potentially fixing some of those small little flaws that you think it has, Everborn. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it could stand some optimization for the handhelds. I hear it runs better on the ROG Ally, but the Steam Deck does have slight performance issues. So just anyone thinking of playing it on the Steam Deck. Now, what I will say,
have you locked it to 40 though? Have you locked?
I have
it to
not.
40?
I have not.
You should
in
try
the game.
that.
I set it to 60.
No, you should lock the screen of the Steam Deck to 40, because 40 is halfway between 60. It feels as good as 60 by and large, and you still retains not as much bandwidth usage, not enough resource usage to hit that 60 consistently. 40 might be the sweet spot. I haven't tried it yet, but you should try that.
And so just to wrap this up, so the game has like taken me away from every other game that I was playing, and one of those other games is Sandland. I really like the trailers that I saw for it. Akira Toriyama just passed away, so I was interested in it even more because of that. I think Dragon Ball is just the greatest, so I love his stuff. And the reviews that I have had it looking really fun, and I started it, and it starts very, I don't want to say it starts slow, but it just starts in a way that didn't make me feel good about it, like the way the combat works and the speed of the character and then the vehicles that they want you to drive. It's not gripping with me yet, but I think that's because I'm just in this Kinzara mode where like I just want to get through this and finish this because it has sort of captivated me so much. So I picked up Sandland. I only played it for like a half hour, so don't take this as any negative thing towards it. I love the art style. The gameplay in the first half hour has not like dragged me in. I'm definitely going to go back to it, but I just was drawn back to Zao. So like I said, don't take any of my critiques as anything. And then we talked about this last week. I tried a little bit more of No Rest for the Wicked. It's not jiving with me, but I think it's just not the fault of the game, but it is early access and they're making updates to things. And I really, really think that the health system is too stingy. It really, like the way they want you to handle getting food.
It kicks your butt.
Right. I just think
your butt.
Adding survival elements to which are annoying unless that's what the game is. But adding that to a Souls type game, which is already a very tough ask, I'm saying the survival elements become more annoying than intriguing when you're trying to deal with like these Souls type of bosses, and I still don't know if they've got the timing right on the parry, and that bothers me. And the dodge takes away way too much stamina, so that kind of bothers me as well. Because like if you're so stringent on your parry mechanic, then you should give some leeway on the dodge mechanic. And if you're not going to give leeway on the parry or the dodge, then your health system shouldn't be so stingy. And I understand there's a get good thing, but like I don't want to feel annoyed, especially when there's so many other games out there that I could be.
It sounds like a problem with the controller and the seat, between the controller and the seat.
We're about to look at your gameplay. I think we're gonna see some controller and seat problems in a second.
Bro,
but
I put mine on Front Street, man. Where's yours?
Right. The top praise that I have for Tales of Kinzara is that it has taken me away from No Rest for the Wicked. It's taken me away from Dragon's Dogma. It's taken me away from Harold Halibut. It's taken me away from Sandland, and it's taken me away from, which I finally started and I was loving, Cyberpunk, the Phantom Liberty, right? So that's how much of a
draw, on that train now. Okay.
That's how much of a draw Tales of Kinzara are. So just don't take my critiques as negative. It's just actual what it is, critique.
Yeah. No, I get you. No, I by and large, I agree with all your critiques. I do. All I will say is specifically on No Rest for the Wicked, like if you just look at this scene right here, I am still struck by the fact that everything is moving. Nothing is stagnant in this world at any given time. Whether it be the wind or the rain or the grass, there is always animation happening. And it's just like, you can tell these are the guys that made Ori. Like you can definitely tell it is so well done. So while I agree with all of your criticism, and I do agree that the parry system really needs an overhaul. I agree with that. I agree that the stamina meter is too stingy. But for some reason, much like how others they forgive certain aspects of the game because other aspects are keeping them there. For me, the look and the animation and the way they're doling the story out seems to be keeping me there, even through the early access issues, right? I mean, if you looked at the gameplay there from a minute ago, you'll see it still says DLSS is coming soon. It's definitely square in early access territory. Deadly Headley, have you tried No Rest for the Wicked yet?
I haven't. No. Is this only on PC at the moment?
Currently only on PC. It will be on consoles. You know, they've already let people know that it definitely will be on. I think it'll be on all consoles except for Switch 1. We don't know what about Switch 2, but it will be everywhere. For now, it's just really in early access on console. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm probably one of the few content creators left without a PC at the moment, but I'm hoping to change that at some point.
Hey now,
I do want to jump to PC.
Cool. I mean, we don't advocate PC instead of consoles here. We say options are good.
It has to be both.
Absolutely.
We had this discussion on the Xbox Series podcast the other day. So myself, Acer, and Gamsley were talking about. Actually, it was a question from one of our community members about what I would do when the next Xbox comes out, and whether or not I'd be more tempted by PC instead of going for the next Xbox console, whatever form that takes. But honestly, I think the answer is both, because as much as PC gaming really appeals to me in terms of being able to sort of reach that level of quality and fidelity and performance that, let's be honest, today's current generation of consoles, they do struggle to hit it, and we've seen that with things like Dragon's Dogma, and it's a shame, but ultimately that's what you get with the cost of hardware that goes into those current gen machines. But I really like gaming on a couch. I work at a desk all day. If I get a PC, it's going up in this room, and it's going to be set up on it's going to be set up as like a content creation station as well as a gaming station. But I don't want to do all my gaming in here. I like gaming on a couch, and I like using a big 4K TV and my Sonos surround system that I've got downstairs. Like,
there you go.
It's a difficult one. Options are definitely better than one or the other for me.
You sir, are a man of culture. I don't think
here we
Mr.
go.
Headley knows about my situation.
Yeah. Go ahead. Give him some
I've seen I think I've seen one clip on Twitter of you turning on your PC with a controller. I'm pretty sure I've seen
There you
that, and I
go.
was impressed.
Yes.
With it.
So
But yeah, talk me through what you've set up and why, because I'm trying to figure this out for myself as well. I really am.
okay, so I mean, for a number of reasons, and Kay and I have been mulling over what we call the Steam box for a long time, and what inspired this was the Steam Deck, right? The Steam Deck is a PC, right? But it's a PC in disguise. If you use the Steam OS, you'll have the same experience that you would get from any of the top consoles out here. But the binaries that they are running are PC games, and you can go into a desktop mode if you so choose. And that to me is and I have basically been I noticed that in the past 6 months, 80 to 90% of my gaming was taking place on the Steam Deck. Just because timing wise, I do a lot of gaming in bed. Like you, I work in my home office all day, and I have a 3080 machine in there, but I do not want to see that when I'm done with work, right? Like I don't even want to be in my this is my home office. I don't want to be in here when I'm not working. Right? I'm podcasting in here right now. I don't even want to be in here. Right? So when I game, I don't want to think about PC. I don't want to think about mouse and keyboard. I don't want to think about those things. But the Steam Deck showed me like my problem with PC isn't really with the PC. It's with the user interface, and it is with gaming where I want, which is either my living room or the bedroom. That's where I have two Xboxes. One's in the living room, one's in the bedroom. That's where I traditionally would game. So I set this PC up after I had seen a video on for the ROG Ally where you could, again, this is another thing I should say. I got the ROG Ally so that I could play my Game Pass games like how I was handling the Steam Deck, but the user interface just didn't work for me. So I went back to the Steam Deck, especially when the Steam Deck OLED came out. And so I saw a video that says, hey, you can get rid of that pesky Windows UI. And I went through that whole process. I set up Play Night. Play Night is what it is, but I found ways that you could actually turn off the desktop, which we can talk about that. You can do that. I actually don't think you need to, which we'll talk about that in a second. But I ended up defaulting to big picture mode on the Steam Deck. So it boots into big picture mode. And it was effectively doing the same job as the Steam Deck. I didn't see the desktop UI unless I wanted to. I had my Steam OS. I set up a shortcut key for the Xbox button, and it was integrated with the Steam OS menu. And it was just working. Now, I still ended up going back to the Steam Deck because the battery life on the ROG Ally is terrible. Again, that's a ROG problem. They're using a laptop chipset that they're repurposing versus the Steam Deck is purpose-built for what
it's probably because their battery was also cheaped out. Like the battery they chose is really bad for the size of the screen. It's really bad. 45 some odd hour. It was bad. Yeah.
End result, though, battery life is terrible. I went back to
it's
the
terrible,
Steam Deck.
yes.
But
absolutely, yeah.
That was not a wasted experiment because it made me think. If I could get the user experience I was looking for on the ROG Ally, why couldn't I get it on a PC that is connected to the TV in the place that I game? So I did that. I went and I consulted with all of my PC MR people. I consulted with Slow-Mo and Kay Asante, made sure I wasn't getting ripped off with the prices or whatever. I got a pre-built, which cost me about a $200 markup of difference whether I would have bought the parts separately. But I'm fine with that because the weekend it would have took me was worth more than $200 of my time. So I got the pre-built, whatever. The thing about this is I did not connect any Microsoft services. I logged in. I created a local account. I got rid of the lock screen, and I set it to only run Steam at startup, and I set Steam to launch in big picture mode. And inside of Steam, I did the Xbox controller integration. So when you press the Xbox button, it brings up the Steam menu, and it brings up Steam no matter what else you're doing. So it'll bring up your Steam overlay, just like if I press my Xbox button on the Xbox. And then if I press the screenshot button, it will do the screenshot just like I'm used to. And the only other difference that I was seeing after everything else was set up was, hey, when I'm on my Xbox, I press the controller and the TV turns on and the Xbox turns on. I want to emulate that experience. So that doesn't work out of the box if you just do a Bluetooth connection, and it doesn't work with the new Xbox wireless adapter. So I had to get the old one to do that, which was like $16, whatever. That's the one Kay has right there. So that's what I'm using to just turn on the PC. And there's a weird thing with PCs and TVs. Like the monitor in my office will turn on when it gets a signal from the PC. The TVs don't do that, so I had to buy like an HDMI CEC adapter. Again, these are not things you need to do. These are just me being OCD and wanting to mimic it one to one.
This is also him choosing components that did not adhere to televisions. He chose components that adhere to PCs. If you were to choose another component that does know it will connect to a PC, to a monitor, it will have CEC built in.
When you say component, you're saying because I went
graphics
with the whole 4090.
That's
build.
right.
Yes.
That's right.
So that was another important thing to me. I said, listen, if I'm going to do this, I want to see a night and day difference between what I was
He went balls to the wall. He went, all in. He went, I'm building a monster RGB rig in the bedroom. He went PCMR in the bedroom. That's what he did.
Right. And so now when I'm playing these games, the other thing that I needed to do, because the Xbox app on PC is, I'm sorry if anyone from Xbox is listening, but your app on PC is terrible. So I wanted to launch my Xbox games and Game Pass games from Steam. So I had to get a tool called UWP Hook, and that adds your Game Pass or Xbox games to your Steam library, and you can launch them from right there. So I do not use a mouse and keyboard. I have one that is the size of my controller. So it's very small, and for those 5% of the time where I need it. But basically all the time, I'm never touching that mouse and keyboard, and I am using a controller solely on this thing. So it is effectively a console 95% of the time. And like I said, I have nothing installed on it, so it's a single purpose machine. There's no lock screen. There's no, and I got something called EmuDeck.
Okay, finish up.
To turn off the, if you don't want to see the desktop UI at all, you can turn that off. But I ended up turning it back on because big picture mode always usually stays on top. And I felt like it caused more trouble turning it off than I wanted to. And this was just because the software I was using was in beta that turned it off. So I said it wasn't really affecting me in the way that I thought. I do not see a desktop. I do not see a start menu unless I bring it up. It is just like on the Steam Deck. It's a console when I want it to be and a PC when I need it to be.
This is the part where I must interject and say, Mr. Everborn Saga, he jumped to the deep side of the pool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are PC curious, you don't need to do that. I've said this on, PC curious. You know what it is. You don't need to do that.
Very much. So.
There you go. You don't need to spend the $1,000 it takes to do it, because you can basically get something like this, which is a PC for under your. And guess what? This does not have the problem that Everborn Saga dealt with, because it knows it will connect to a television. So HDMI CEC works. You see what I'm saying? And yes, you will get concessions, as you do with all things that are small, right? It is a console-like interface, but it's all.
I was going to say that's what she said, but forget it.
It's not about the size; it's how you use it, Kay.
Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is. That's right. Right. But at the end of the day,
not that I would know. I'm not speaking from experience, just for the record. If anyone's
Lord, this man fits with us too well, man. He fits too well on this show. So if you want that experience that doesn't lock you into a certain profile because the console developer said so, you could get something like this, and these also can be pretty powerful, and they just plug into your bottom of your TV. It won't be as powerful as a 4090. Get that out your head right now. But if you want to dip a toe in the water and see if going full bore is something you might like, you don't have to invest the 4K right now. You can get something like this for like $800-900. It will have way more powerful than even like something like your ROG Ally, because these are not geared towards battery life. They're geared towards giving you as much TDP as possible. And you can upscale. You can do your 4K like you do with your console. The difference is they won't say 30 frames and you're stuck. They'll say, here's what it can do if you want to play in the background. That's your choice. You can set up exactly the same Xbox UI, the same console experience that Mr. Everborn Saga has done, but without the crazy monster RGBs. So there are options, is the point.
One other thing I want to say, so that's the nuts and bolts of what I did, but there's another element to all this. By the way, Paris says, or Asante and Everborn get an Xbox.
We have Xbox.
Paris, wait a minute, Paris. According to Phil, any screen that you can play a game on is an Xbox. So
nicely done, sir. Nicely done.
Take it up with Phil, not me. All right. The other thing is what this has done in terms of
we got Xboxes, baby. What are you talking about?
I can't throw a rock without hitting an Xbox in my house. Don't worry about that.
Exactly.
But the thing that I will say is what it's done in terms of my participation in the discourse. It changes things a little bit, right? Like a week ago, people were crying about Hellblade being 30 FPS. I don't care. You guys can cry about that, right? People are crying about when Final Fantasy is going to come to Xbox. I don't care. You can talk about Stellar Blade. It's not there yet, but it'll come. Right. So that argument about exclusives, that argument about our like Digital Foundry, all of that stuff kind of goes away. And the reason I wasn't on PC, I think, has been mitigated because it was twofold. It was the user experience and it was being in my office. Both of those things are solved for me. And I kind of get, all of Xbox's games. I get Sony's
while the man talks
when they port them.
I'll just put this right here. You keep talking. I'll just put this right here. Go ahead. Keep going.
And I'm just saying it feels a lot better. There's a lot less consternation around the discourse. I can just focus on the game instead of arguing with fools.
He used to be the monkey holding the Xbox knife like 2 months ago. That was him. Now he's just like
That's good.
And by the way, the last thing I'll say on this, and then we can move on. That vision that Phil talked about a few weeks ago about picking up your handheld and it has the same interface as what's on your TV, and picking up the game where you left off and not even thinking about it, and all your library coming with you and your saves. That's happening right now. Like Valve's doing it. Yeah. And between big picture mode and the Steam Deck, it's happening. So again, I bleed green, and as soon as they put out this hopefully hybrid OS, I will switch over to that interface. But in the meantime, I'm building a Steam library, so I hope that they hurry up.
Yeah, and you really have touched on the probably Microsoft's most crucial challenge if they do go for that hybrid OS. And I really want to see them do that. I think that's how they elevate themselves as a gaming company that is, moving beyond just the console space and actually putting more earnest on gaming as a hobby and what you can offer your consumers that way. But the user experience, and I am actually professionally, I'm a UX UI designer. Like I specialize in digital design specifically.
So you know how bad the Xbox is.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nightmare for users to wrap their head around that and understand that not only do you have access to your Xbox library and your Xbox ecosystem as you have before, but you now have access to these other libraries, these other storefronts, and how they thread that needle and make it a really seamless console-like experience for the average consumer that isn't someone who listens to a podcast like this, like really just the normie who plays the GTA or the COD and that's it. Like it has to make sense to them. It has to be usable for them. It's going to be an interesting selling proposition. I hope it goes in that direction because I want it to, but it would be interesting to see how they navigate.
We on this show have been advocating for it for years now, seasons, I will say. Listen, and it looks like they're closer than they've ever been before.
Console is a small pond, PC is the ocean, and in the ocean, Microsoft is Poseidon. They should do this. All right, we got to do super chats because I think
let's do super chats. Yes, indeed. Thank you guys so much for being here. Once again, hit the like button if you have not done so. I will once again, before I read the super chats, I will say we are giving away Tales of Kinzara Zhao on any platform.
By the way, I should also another thing that led me in the direction aside from my own experiments was Umbra getting that PC and connecting it to his TV. So shout out to Umbra, and it was the argument around Hellblade. So all those things like the stars aligned, and then we had a solar eclipse. So like the stars literally aligned.
And the fact that I had been advocating for this for years, that mattered not. He had to see if
no. I didn't mention you as a catalyst at all.
It's fine. Even I've been saying that for like season 1. Like, yo, what's going? They used to fight me. They used to say I was spending Gabe bucks. Now all of a sudden he's the one spending them Gabe bucks. Okay, it's cool. I'll keep my digital receipts. It's all right. But yes,
better late than never.
Right? I'm just happy we're playing in the same pool now, baby. It's a beautiful thing, And it doesn't devalue consoles in any way. Ocean. True. It is indeed an ocean. Yes, it doesn't devalue consoles in any way because, like you're saying, there are those who just want that straight up console-like experience, and you hit the button, it plays. And that's it, right? Everborn has been doing a lot of the tweaking and twerking. Shout out to the man Lucius Augustus, who says we do too much tweaking and twerking on PC. But you get what you get in that realm. You get more.
It was a weekend worth of tweaking and twerking, and now I'm just pressing the controller and I'm ready to go.
There you go.
And
right?
Get your mind out of the gutter, slow mo. It was Gabe Newell dollars.
What bucks? Gabe with a B, big B. Anyway. Shout out to the man, J Mac. Thank you so much for being here with a $5 super chat. He says, support is all. Hashtag Grey Weirds. By the way, Xbox/Microsoft bought ABK and made money. No surprise. Sir, we will talk about that. I'm going to bring that one up soon. So thank you so much for being here. And Roshan Eppinger, member for 1 month, says, I won't watch the show until all episodes are out. I suspect he's talking about the Fallout series. So if Paris has his way, that statute of limitation for talking about it will get even longer. You see, this is why it should come out week to week. I am now a part of the converts because then when I start talking about it, I know you guys either you've seen it or it's on you if you haven't seen it. Because right now I want to talk about it, but I feel bad, And then of course,
you know what, I've gone the other way with that because I've seen some of the back and forth that Paris and Rand have had between whether or not you should binge or whether you
yeah.
I think there's valid arguments on both sides, but specifically when it comes to when I look at how Fallout as a franchise has benefited from that TV show, I wonder, and it's a stretch because I can't really put Fallout and Halo as two separate TV shows in the same boat entirely in regards to quality. I like both of them, and I especially liked Halo Season 2 a lot.
Yeah, me too.
But I appreciate why a lot of Halo fans. He wasn't. I appreciate why a lot of Halo fans may have taken some umbrage with the Halo series, but I wonder if Halo the series was released as something that could be bingeable rather than something that was released week to week. I wonder if that higher concentration of Halo content in the beginning would have led to an absence of not having more Halo content, and where do you go to find that? So there's arguments on both sides for whether or not I think that'll work.
I do see your argument. Had they allowed us to binge all of season 2, it might have kindled that fire because for me anyway, it took to the end of season 2 for me to raise my hands and go finally. Right? It took to the very end of season 2.
What I think is the elephant in the room that gets left out of the weekly or binge conversation is it has to be on a show by show basis, right? Like shows that are written with binging in mind. They're written differently than shows that are written for a week to week cliffhanger at the end of every episode kind of thing. And so it just depends on the show and the script. And so Fallout was written in a way that where the episodes flowed into each other so you could watch it all in one sitting. Other shows may not be written in that way where
but
you need time to breathe with them.
I bet though that next season it will be week to week.
But then next season, I would argue that next season will be written differently.
Get written differently, possibly, because I wasn't so sure. But then I put the feelers out, and people were basically telling me that tends to be Amazon's MO, right? If it's a show that you know that they know you'll love, they'll do it week to week. But if it's new and they don't know if you'll love it, they'll drop it on you day one to get you excited, and then the next season turns week to week. So I suspect that next season, since it's made such a big impression, clearly it has, I probably expect to see it next season will be a week to week affair. You know, X-Men 97
is show by show basis, and it depends on how the script is written.
True. X-Men 97 is still killing it, and it's week to week. And we still keep talking about it every week. So I think there's usefulness on both sides depending on the show. Absolutely, I agree with you. Slow Mo Backslap, $10 super chat. He says, I'm curious, Everborn. What's your primary platform for games? I keep hearing about all the work you're putting into a particular setup, but what is the hardware you're doing that on? Just curious. He wants to know your speeds and feeds. Show him your build, sir.
My primary platform at the moment is Steam, and if you want to know the hardware, it's the Steam Deck. Next question.
Okay. Y'all gonna leave the slander into the DMs, man. Calm down with that. L. Paul, $5 super chat. He says the Xbox handheld, the Series Go, will soon be available and put the PCMR back in the bushes. Oh, I don't know about that, bro. I don't know. These days, to me, consoles are marketing terms only. Even your hybrid console will most likely be a PC under the covers. It just is what it is, sir. You know, that's why on this show and all of this,
I say in the closet.
Exactly
for the PC curious people,
or in the bedroom for the PCMR in the bedroom people. Anyway, yes, that's why I say hashtag get a PC, and I don't mean purchase one. I mean understand one, because then you get that. Hey, this is a PC in all but name. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're being sold these days. JD Gamer, with a $10 super chat. Thank you for being here, sir. We still got to get you on, by the way. He says, panel, if the form of the next Xbox is dockable and portable console to rule them all and have a console experience with the ability to play everywhere, I'm definitely getting that. What about you? Bro, we've talked about how we are console people, we are PC people. I got a Series S over here, I got an Xbox. You're damn right I'm getting that console. I might even get a PS5 Pro if they're able to entice me well enough. But that's because I'm about that techno lust. It is what it is.
I think I don't want to piss on anybody's parade, but we've heard a lot of those rumors, and I feel like a lot of people may be expecting those things from the next device, and every one of those things on their own are a tall order. So and looking at the way that Xbox tries to take measured approaches, I don't know that we're gonna get all those things in one day. Yes. And I see this other. When I say dockable, I mean unlike original Switch, the dock actually adds to the. See, but that's the thing, right?
That part's tough.
An external GPU is super expensive, and the connect disconnect part of it has not really been solved yet. And I don't know that Microsoft is going to be able to solve that.
It kind of has been solved. It kind of has been solved with an Oculink port, and I will go a little PC real quick.
But
they haven't solved that. Yeah.
Here's the problem.
And I've spoken to certain people that
yes,
people that would be making working on these things.
It needs to be seamless, and
right. It is not seamless in a way where you can just unplug it and then be holding the device in your hands. And because that hasn't been solved, and in the ways that it has been solved, it is very expensive.
It's kind of hodgepodge.
A $1,000+ device. It is not like. So what you can do is dock it and turn up the TDP because you have a fixed power source, but having an external GPU solution is going to be difficult. That's the first thing, right? So I think it's more along the lines of a unified user experience, meaning
and then they work towards
be
that
two
hardware
separate devices, but you'll have one that goes under your TV and a handheld that you can dock, but it's really just going to be increased TDP, not external GPU stuff. So I don't want people thinking that's the thing it's going to be.
Temper your expectations, what you're saying.
Right. And then that's the first thing, right? So even doing those two things is a tall ask, a handheld and then another box, because you have to ask yourself, are they going to ask devs in their even lower position in the hardware market to now support 2 SKUs again? That is going to be a difficult thing for them to do. And then when we're talking about this PC hybrid thing, what is that experience going to be like with other stores? Can it be done? Yes. Is it going to be done in a way that people understand and want to use, and also not just be a funnel over to Steam so that no one uses their store? That is another difficult ask. And then just getting the UI correct is another difficult ask. So this idea that it's going to play everything and then do everything and have the GPU, like, that's the dream, but
it may not be something you do today. No, I don't disagree with you on that one.
Just temper your expectations. I'm excited for what they're going to do, and I think the best, in my opinion, the best thing they could do is formalize this thing that I've done with the whole console experience. Like, have a mode of Windows that takes all that out of the way for you, and it's plug and play, and it works with a TV, and it works with a controller, and you can go into Windows when you want, and then you can.
They are heading in that direction,
and that's it. And we can go from there and build up all those other things. But to me, I think the future is Xbox evolving into an OS. That's job one. You can do the other
we've definitely even talked about that in the past. That second super chat was from JD Gamer as well. And then of course he must finish it off in his trademark style with a $2 super chat saying, by the way, port begging ponies still got no games. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Does have the games? Steam.
PC does. Yes, I knew he was going to go there. Them game bucks don't spend themselves. I understand, sir. Before we move on to the stories proper, I will say once again,
we got to start saying Gabe Noel bucks before Slow-Mo gets confused again.
No. He can be a man baby if he so chooses. That's fine. I will say, please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Shout out to the 317 people watching, and that is over YouTube and the Twitters. We appreciate y'all coming here and chatting with us. If you happen to be on the YouTubes, we are giving away a copy of Tales of Kinzarazao today. How you get access to that, we are going to pick at some point in this program. We will pick a winner from our picker. All you have to do is put support indie devs, all capital letters. Capitalize each letter. I will put it in the chat right now. Put that in there. And towards the end of the show, we will definitely be picking. Right now, there's only 10 entries, so it's an easy win for somebody. If you're interested in getting a copy, and that's a copy either on Xbox, on Switch, on PlayStation, enter the contest. Towards the end of this, we will pick a winner, and you will have a copy of Tales of Kinzarazao. We appreciate it, and we want to support them indie devs on this here program. So thank y'all so much for checking us out. Thanks for the continued support. And let's get into the show proper, sir. Before we do, I will once again reiterate that the Community Indie Showcase is going down in about 2 hours at this point. It may feature a certain dynamic duo that you guys may know that is entertaining you guys here. If you want to check out the program, us featured on the show, as well as many other great content creators that the Wandering Dutch puts together every year. We appreciate him for doing that. So bookmark that if you haven't had a chance to go check it out. I want to see these numbers grow astronomically. So it tells the powers that be that, hey man, maybe if they FUBU it, it's something that the community as a whole and these companies should support. So support them devs and support your content creators, ladies and gentlemen. But let's get this thing started in earnest. I kind of wanted to do a quick check-in on this one.
Hey,
which was
do that super chat from Captain Chats before we go.
Oh yeah, okay. I see a super chat from Captain Chats. Salute to you, sir. What a £5 super chat. He says, I was already a tech geek, but watching this show and Gamers Playground is bad for my wallet. Secret Labs, Magnus Desk, RGLI in 1 month. Damn.
Listen, hey, to you, it's terrible for my wallet as well. So don't feel bad. This whole experiment wasn't cheap. And shout out to Arodimus for gifting 5 memberships.
For gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, Arodimus. We appreciate you, sir. You are a man among men. We appreciate you for your continued support. And we appreciate you for being
Aaron,
here.
we got to get you on the show one day, sir.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him at Gamescom. I hope he'll be there this year, because I will be at Gamescom. And actually, by the way, while we're on that topic, I might find myself in LA in June, because I somehow, while others are building RGB laden PCs, I'm buying tickets. So this is what we're doing right now.
Hey, let me ask you a question. What are the dates for the June thing?
I'll be there from June 6th to June 10th. So within
you bringing
that,
the missus?
The missus literally kicked me out the house. She was like, "Nope, you going? Peace." So the worst thing about this here is that is her birthday weekend. She told me to peace out. So I just feel so bad.
Excuse me. I was gonna say, if you were, I may be able to coerce the missus into going. She just needs something.
Oh man, I wish we should have talked about that beforehand, because then we could have made that happen. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. Well, we gotta deal with the spawn, the seeds. They got to be fed. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those situations, and it's her birthday weekend. We'll figure it out at some point. We'll get this done. But let me clear here, right? While people are spending all this money, I too have been secretly spending some ducats here and there. Y'all saw that I bought this guy some weeks back. This is like a mini PC. Basically, in it is gaming PC, but it can do your standard fare. Since I have now embarked on this plan of going all over the place this year, I actually put a 4G module in this thing. It was such a pain in the butt. It took me till 1 o'clock this morning getting it done. The pins are so tiny, but now I can put a SIM card in this thing and have a connection everywhere I go. It's pretty awesome. But yes, this is what we do here in PC land. This is what we do. We tinker. That's what we do. But it's really cool. So as we go along, as the time draws near, I may do a video, show some of the gear I'll be bringing, things like that. This will be my first time, so I'm really, really excited to jump in there and shout out to all the people who have been supporting me in the background all this time. Salute to you, Mr. Hargeet Chani, who I hopefully will also see in June. I see you in here, man. Welcome, sir. I appreciate you being here. Let us talk a little bit about Shinji Mikami and what he has now done after leaving Tango Gameworks. Now, if y'all recall, we had this conversation sometime back where he was leaving the studio, and there was rumor and speculation that he wanted to leave some time ago, but he wanted to shepherd his studio into the future, or into Xbox's hands, if you will, before he stepped away. And it looks like he's finally done so. Reading through the article, I didn't hear what his new studio is called, but it was really apparent that he was he felt a little typecast. He wanted to get away from horror games, and people kept going, well, you made Resident Evil, right? Why don't you just keep going in that direction? So he eventually left the studio so that he could go start something new. And based on the story I was reading, and Everborn, this is super interesting. Like we were under the assumption that he was like the ambassador of the studio, that he basically was the studio head, if you will. He was just an employee. He wasn't even at the executive level. So at some point he had to go off and go do things for himself. Super interesting. Like, I'm surprised, and maybe this is. Go ahead.
I was told he just didn't like working for Xbox, and so he wanted to get out of Dodge, and that his next studio was going to be a PlayStation exclusive studio. That's what I heard.
Yeah, but that's because you lay with the dogs and catch the fleas all the time. That's a different conversation altogether.
I used to. I've since gone to the vet.
What I will say is, it is surprising to me that even though he wasn't an executive at that level, being the name of this studio and being like, the guy who created Resident Evil and all that, it's surprising to me that when Microsoft took over, they didn't put him in more of a position of power. So much so that he eventually left the studio to go start his own thing. I'll start with you, Deadly Headley. Sir, what do you think here? Are you a Shinji fan, or are you a Resident Evil fan? Is this surprising to you in any way?
So the answer to both of those questions is not really. So you're sort of dropping me in the deep end here, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, no worries, please. Yes,
I'm always in support of creatives that want to go and make the thing that they want to make. I think that's really important. And again, as a creative professional, I don't like being asked to make stuff that I don't want to make. So I think really my take on this is good for him. And I'm glad that he's making that decision. I read in the article somewhere that he probably doesn't feel like he's got that long left in his time in game development. So I think now's probably as good a time as any. And actually also referenced in here that he reportedly cited his desire to create an environment designed to give young game creators more regular experience by making games with shorter development cycles, which I think is a really good move. And I hope that we see more of that trend, because obviously across the industry, we've seen budgets inflate, we've seen the scope of games inflate in quite an impressive but alarming way when it comes to how budgets are spent and managed. And I think when you look at something like Hellblade 2 coming out, which is deliberately designed to be much more contained and be a linear experience that sort of caps out at around sort of 8-9 hours worth of gameplay, I think it's good that we sort of try and get back to that space, because it sort of opens up more opportunities for younger, newer developers, especially with the amount of layoffs that we've seen. I think more nimble, agile projects actually sort of open up the door for more opportunity broadly.
Here. I completely agree wholeheartedly. We on this show have advocated on a time or two that ballooning budgets need to be reined in, and it shouldn't be on the backs of consumers to be insisting that you pay more. Maybe you have a bit more self-control and do the Nintendo thing a little bit. Let the creative juices flow while the budgets stay tight. So I do agree with that. I'm just surprised that the Microsoft had this big name guy who clearly was not fulfilled in his space, and they didn't throw the bag at him and go, "Look, man, you are now our representative in Japan. Go forth and take our name." You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised they didn't do that, to the point where he was just kind of checked out already and left. It's surprising.
That itself is very surprising. Yeah, I would expect Microsoft to get a little bit more behind him. That's a weird one.
It's very strange. Mr. Everborn Saga, sir, what are your thoughts?
No, I just heard you say let the juice flow and keep it tight. So, okay, sorry. What were we talking about? Shinji Mikami. Okay.
Man babies, ladies and gentlemen. Man babies. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
No, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, right? If you didn't have to, are you going to work for someone else where you're not in control of your own destiny forever?
True.
Right? Like just before we say anything about that, ask yourself that. If
you're right.
Money was because I'll tell you right now, if money was no issue, I would go. I mean, I'm doing it now, but like barely part-time, because I have to, pay mortgages and things like that. But if money was no issue, I would go do my own thing too. He doesn't owe any allegiance to any company. It's
but this is not me saying. This is not me saying he owes allegiance, but I'm like, you see how they've basically made Todd Howard the granddaddy of Bethesda, right? He's not the owner of Bethesda, but he is the auteur at Bethesda. This could have been that way for them in Japan, and they could have enticed him to stay, and it would have worked for them, and probably would have worked for him too. I'm surprised that didn't happen, or maybe it did and he wasn't interested.
He did found Tango Gameworks, so it's not like he was.
He did.
So he was.
Then he became he was an employee, not even at an executive level. Based on the article,
I mean, Todd is an employee, right?
True.
If you want to break it down to that. So, he just didn't want to be a worker anymore. He wanted to be a boss. And there's no amount of money you can throw. Like, I am sure he got paid after whatever vested from the acquisition, right? Like, and if you got that, I don't care how much money you're throwing at me, right? Because you're only giving me X amount of dollars because you feel like I'm going to make you more than that. That is the entire nature of capitalism. So by definition, I am worth more than what you are paying me. And in today's world, I have the startup capital. I can do that myself. And I have a name. I have the connections. So I don't care what salary you give me. Right? I can make those games for myself. And I might even come to you to fund it, but I'm going to be in control. True. You know, that's just the nature of it. And I don't blame it. And I would do the same thing. And if somebody just has that decision that they want to do their own thing, I would assume at this point, money doesn't matter to him anymore. So, you know,
true. No, so that's us double clicking on the story. If you recall, we've talked about it in the past. Let's hope to see what he comes out of this work. It is interesting to me that a person who has been known for his work in the horror genre, clearly he wants to do something different. I look forward to seeing what that is. You know, I look forward to seeing how he branches off and does something different. You know, it's awesome that he has the opportunity to do so, and he just didn't retire and go live on a beach somewhere. You know, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But okay, let us move forward on this. And before we do, I think, am I wrong? Yes, we did get another super chat. Shout out to the man, MJ Dark. He says, Shenji broke my heart with this news. I was hoping he would work on Resident Evil Code Veronica, the best Resident Evil game. And he also wanted the Evil Within 3, which I think the Evil Within 3 is still pending. I think that's still being worked on, even though Shenji's no longer at the studio. But yes, I have a feeling that someone will throw some virtual tomatoes at you in the chat for your Code Veronica call out there. I know you're a one-man band. I know. But many people don't agree with you on that, sir. Many people don't agree with you on that. But all right, let us move forward. I will, while we're talking about, you know, potential additions to existing IPs, let's touch on this for a quick moment, because we've been talking about Fallout and how Fallout's working. I read this op-ed that I thought was super interesting, and we'll see how we feel about this, and then we'll double back on the Xbox topic. And actually, for that Xbox topic, for the financials topic, we have one of our favorite guests joining us on this show, the one who looks at the numbers and is able to extrapolate and really give you a really, really introspective take. We appreciate it when he's able to join us. We got Game Logic joining us.
Oh snap! I didn't think you were going to make it. Welcome, sir.
I worry that introduction is misleading. It's far too.
Stop it! that is my opinion, and I'm allowed to have that opinion on this show. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you for making the time. But yes,
thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Always. Before we get there, though, this op-ed is saying that, you know what? Long story short, Fallout was great. The TV show is great, and if we have to wait for Bethesda to do it, we're all going to be graybeards, and many of us won't even be able to see it. So it's time to hand off the IP to a studio that could potentially do it sooner, so that we get more Fallout in our world. Fallout that was made in this decade, in this generation. What do we think about that? Deadly Henley, I'll start with you, sir. I know that the Fallout 76 is doing big numbers. They released the new Fallout 4 patch that seems to be doing well. But this op-ed posits that, you know, it's all well and good, but these are all games that aren't for this gen. And had they threaded that needle a little bit better, maybe we'd have a proper Fallout for this gen to coincide with this awesome game. What are your thoughts?
I think they make a really fair point, and I'm fully behind seeing a Fallout game sooner than specifically Todd Howard, because I'm pretty sure he's one of the driving forces, if not the main driving force behind keeping it back and keeping it under Bethesda Game Studios roof. Something that we talk about on the Xbox Series podcast a lot is that importance of mind share, and how Xbox doesn't necessarily have as much of it as it would like to, especially when I think we think about how ubiquitous Sony and PlayStation are as a brand to gaming. They're very tight with Apple, even when Apple are showing any of their gaming capabilities or options on like an iPad or Apple TV or something like that. They're all using a PlayStation controller. It's sort of, for all intents and purposes, PlayStation almost seems to be the default gaming platform in some respects. And with Xbox having an IP like Fallout, I think that the mind share, especially when we look at the success of the TV studio, it's really, really important that they can keep that content cadence up. And I think the nature of Bethesda Game Studios, specifically with how long it took to get Starfield out the door, with how long it's going to take to get Elder Scrolls 6 out the door, are we really going to wait that long for Fallout afterwards? Like, it has to come sooner than that. Content is king in this day and age, and it sort of feels like if Xbox doesn't make this decision, it's hamstringing itself. Obviously, there are definitely, pros to having Fallout 5 done in-house with Bethesda Game Studios, but there's no reason why they can't necessarily be the advisory board while Obsidian take it on, for example, like they did with New Vegas, right? I don't know. I would like to see them. I would like to see them push it out and give it to somebody else so that they can get that content rolling out quicker. I think that's really important for the brand.
So, what do we think about
logic, sir? Yes, go ahead.
So what do we think about the notion that, so a lot of this, I don't know what you want to call it, chutzpah, whatever, is about the knock-on effect of these television shows bringing more, non-gamers, nascent gamers into the fold, right? But we also have data that indicates that. Are you guys still able to hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah,
we hear you.
Okay.
Well, yep.
I don't know if I did that or what.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. And if I'm on a dynamic mic too, and I can't tell from this side of the broadcast, so if I'm too quiet or too loud, just let me know.
No, you're good. Perfect.
But we all also have data that indicates that once those people are brought into the fold, they don't necessarily stay, right? They're not necessarily persistent gamers, and we all talk about. We have this notion of what a high value gamer is, right? And so that's a person who comes into the fold. And I'm going to excise the notion of people who pay in via subscription, because I don't know that we have a firm way to really value them other than to ostensibly say, a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber is the equivalent of a consumer who buys 3 new games a year. But we all know that the high value gamer, right, is oriented around this notion of the person who buys 10 or more games per year. So if TLU or Fallout or Arcane or whatever is bringing somebody into the fold, but they're not becoming that high value consumer and they're not really contributing to ARPU, then like doesn't really matter. And is that really a reason to then make the investment, take on the complexity, rearrange and shift around your production pipeline, your organization, and all of that to get somebody on board who you don't know is going to remain an adhesive customer?
Yeah. And ARPU is average revenue per user, in case anyone didn't know.
There you go. Drop that. There you go. Yes. Go ahead, everyone. What are your thoughts?
So, the only issue that I take with this is the goal of these adaptations is to bring eyeballs around the IP to get players, right? I would argue that they have taken full advantage of the show without spending, $200 to $300 million making another Fallout. And I'm not saying they don't need to do that, but if you have the show out, it's at the top of everyone's mind in the zeitgeist. You have a perfectly timed sale on the entire Fallout series. You have people that can access the thing through Game Pass. You have a next gen update ready. Fallout 76 is a service game designed to live on and get people into it, and you have 1 million people playing that in a day. You've got across the other ones, and I know these games are on sale for like $5. I get it, but that's what you do with this thing. That would, if they made a new game right now and it had 5 million players, we'd say, wow, that's a success. That's from the show. It also cost them several $100 million to do that. If the goal is to get the players, they've got that. I say let the game come out whenever it's supposed to come out, and the show has done its job, and the next season will come out. And I think they renewed it for 2 seasons. So we will have Fallout TV for at least the next 3 to 4 years, because that's how long it takes to do these seasons now. And maybe you'll have something on the horizon then. But I think they timed this very well. I think the product placement was very well. And I think the 343 could have a lot to learn in terms of how you position an adaptation with things for the game ready to go. Because you might say Halo Infinite launched in bad shape, but so did Fallout 76. It's just that Fallout 76 launched such a long time ago. People forgot
Why
that,
is
and
it
the show was so
why
good.
is it, Everborn, that every time I hear people giving props to Fallout, I feel like I'm the one representing the whipping boys that are 343, just getting smacked across. Every time people talk Fallout, they go, "But that Halo, damn it!"
No, well, first of all, I'm the biggest Halo Season 2 stan, so we don't have to do that again. But you know, people are saying it brought players back, and that didn't happen for 343. Last week, I was all over. I was giving 343 and the Halo team all their flowers. This week, I'm giving Fallout their flowers. Right? They came out the gate with a show that took everybody by surprise, and a lot of that has to do with who was behind the camera. Jonathan Nolan, which is Christopher Nolan's brother, who helps him on all his screenplays. That has something to do with, I think, why the show has been received so well. And so,
and he admits that he's even been playing Fallout 76 for years now, even when he was doing his other projects. Right?
There you go. So the point is, at the end of the day, the goal is to get users playing. The goal is not necessarily to make a new game for the sake of making a new game. And I think that the show, it was great. Everybody loved it. It got people playing the game. Fallout is in the best position I think it's been in a long time, just as an IP, because of the show, and then because of them having updates and things like that ready. And Fallout 76 has gotten so many updates that when you come back to it now, I'm told it feels like a new game. So to me, I jumped in. It's a great way to do it. And it just shows you how important first impressions are, because maybe if the first season wasn't great and they had a good second season, maybe it wouldn't have brought so many people. I'm just saying. But
so a la Halo. See, there you go. More the Halo slander.
I think this is a success all around, and they played their cards perfectly with the stuff, with the hand that they had to play in terms of the content that was available. And don't rush Fallout 5. Let it come out when it's ready. And listen, before we talk about Fallout 5, can we talk about Shattered Space? Can we talk about ES6? Let's get those, because we don't want those delayed. So
true.
So I think the one nit that I have with kind of the stuff you went through, Everborn, was I don't know that they captured all the potential that they could have around Fallout 76, because the vast majority of the conversation that you see, and actually the player numbers that you see as well, when you talk about the knock-on effect that the show has had, has been around previous iterations of Fallout 3, Fallout 4, even New Vegas is in the conversation. Not that much conversation about Fallout 76. And one of the problems, I believe, from a marketing PR perspective, is Fallout 76 still has a bad rap for people who are not Fallout 76 players. And this is, often this is not a good story for Xbox, but in this instance it is. I constantly talk about when games come out, whether they're Xbox, Ubisoft, or whatever, and they come out, with a bit of a lame duck, they don't stick the landing, I would advise gamers and content creators, it's an imperative, we need to constantly go back to Steam and look at how those games trend as an indicator of where they're really sitting with, in my mind, the only community that is worth a damn in terms of posting a publicly visible opinion on the state of a game. And if you look at Fallout 76 on Steam, Fallout 76 came out with a bad community take, but it is really good right now. I think it's mostly positive. I want to say
it's gotten very good. It's gotten very good. Yes.
So, and in fact, So, I mean, that to me is the indicator that tells me that game is vastly improved. But still today, when I see the conversation around Fallout the television show, and hey guys, you should go play Fallout, I don't see or hear enough of a volume. When the Fallout 76 topic comes up, I still see the trend of conversation being bad game. Yep. And I don't know that's true. And I don't think that Xbox has done. They've let that conversation kind of happen organically, which is kind of weird, because I would kind of contend that in a lot of Xbox conversations, there's more of a deliberate hand in trying to guide it. I haven't seen the visibility of that deliberate hand on the Fallout 76 conversation, and I feel like that helped get people on the Fallout 76 to serve your case, which is that it's a service game. People get into that fold, they will continue contributing revenue. Again, we go back to ARPU. I feel like that's a particular area of perception, image, and exposure pie, right? That should have been capitalized on.
I don't disagree with you on that. Real quick, everyone. The idea that maybe when this show was tracking to be as good as it is, maybe instead of, like you're saying, spending all the millions of dollars it would be to create a new Fallout game, maybe add a new beginning to Fallout 76 that kind of sherpas you through the Fallout universe, a la mimicking the show a bit, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge the show, or the show using more of the show being more of a promotion arm to get you into Fallout 76, kind of like how Edge Runners was very much sherped you into getting back into Cyberpunk. It seems that they, to Game Logic's point, they let you decide which Fallout to jump into, and many jumped into Fallout 4, some jumped into 76. But if you go to 76 right now, which is what I did it online via the cloud, it is very much a good entry point into the Fallout universe. If this show has galvanized you and it made you feel like, hey, I should get back in there, they could have and should have done more to promote people to Fallout 76.
But
I really
you're right. To be fair, if any service game told you they had 1 million players in a single day, we would call that a success. So I don't know that we can say
it is a success. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, like, when we were talking about, and this was like a week or two ago when the news about these games first dropped, they had like merch everywhere. Obviously, they gave codes for PC and console, right? But the official game that they pointed you to should have been Fallout 76, right? It should have been, hey, you get to meet the ghoul in Fallout 76. You get to meet these characters that from the game, from the show in Fallout. Had they done that, which would have been relatively a shorter uplift, a smaller uplift, because it's a live world, you can keep people interested. That may have pushed it even more in the direction, because I get the people playing Fallout 4, and Fallout 4 is a great game, and they did the upgrade for Fallout 4. But to your point, Everborn, you want them to be part of the gas community. You want them to continue down the path with more stories and more microtransactions. Fallout 76 would have been they should have pushed people more in that direction. Although, to your point, even organically, it's becoming successful. So that is a good thing.
Well, I just think we need more, like, if this is the success story of their adaptations, we need more of this. So I don't want to take away from what this is doing. And if I hope that Gears of War, they're going to do a TV show for that. I hope that it has a similar effect of bringing people to the older games. And then you got a new one come hopefully soon. Maybe we'll hear about it in June. But the show is so good. It has the zeitgeist for the moment. And again, I know it's going to be a cartoon, but I heard they were doing a live action movie. Is that true? For Gears of War on Netflix?
Yeah, I think they're doing both.
Right?
Yeah,
so I hope it is not like a Rebel Moon 2 for the movie. I hope it's like a Edge Runners kind of thing for the cartoon. Something that gets everybody talking and remembering why they love Gears of War. So anyway, to me, this is the template that you want. And maybe it's skewed more towards Fallout 4 and the other games, but I still think it did a lot for 76. So they're getting money on the premium end, and they're getting money on the getting people in there on the gas end. And so to me, that should be the goal of these adaptations, aside from obviously telling a good story.
Yeah. And by the way, Fallout as a franchise is everywhere. And with the excitement of the show and how good it is, it's got me into it. I was off of Fallout 76. I wasn't even going to try it. Jumped in. Initially, I wasn't going to try it because the whole world was full of people and robots, no NPCs. They have since corrected that, right? So now when you jump in, your interaction is with actual NPCs. So it's kind of like the Fallout you know and love in all ways, except it's also a continuing story, gas type situation. I've enjoyed so far my time playing with it. I might even jump back into Fallout 4 VR, which I'm a big VR guy, so I like that idea of being able to pat dog meat. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all right there, and you can try it. And these days it's cheap as hell. Like they said it was like what, $6 or something for all that stuff. So it's pretty awesome. More people should be playing it, and maybe if and when they do, it will spur the bean counters to spend some more energy and time into it. I do agree that there are others before it in the line of Bethesda, so we don't want to wait until 2035 to hear about the next Fallout, right? Like if they have an opportunity to do like a kind of an offset, as a gamer specifically, I would be excited to see more of that. I don't want to be all gray beard the next time I see Fallout. I need it to be sooner rather than later, but I do hear you on the dollars and cents of it. It does make sense that they kind of push what they have now versus build something new. I thought it was interesting. Before we continue,
Fallout 5, I'm just saying we don't need to rush it.
We don't need to rush it. You're right, because then when it comes out and it's garbage, then we're gonna be throwing them pitchforks as well. So there you go. Adidas 20 with a $5 super chat. He says, "Morning, KA and panel. Good morning to you, sir, and thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate you, Adidas. It's always good to have you here. Thank you for the support." Now, Lord Zenu saves with a $5 super chat. He says, "Hey boys, greetings from the bookend and father to the goodness that is that chant. He be Z1. Head scratcher. I appreciate the support. You need to expound on that one. Appreciate you being here. And of course, the prolific one, Mr. JD Gamer, with a $20 super chat. He says, "I would push back a little on the idea that Microsoft should do something about the reviews that exist for Fallout 76. They did something like that with Starfield and got smacked by the community for what would you have them do? Yeah, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. At this point, I agree that they should just probably let the game speak for themselves. And as Everborn was noting, even though they didn't push that narrative, they push people to it, organically it has grown substantially and it is looking to be successful. So maybe.
But my point on that is JD Gamer's comment. I didn't say do something about the reviews, and I definitely did not say it was analogous to what they got accused of for Starfield. What they got accused of for Starfield was contriving the rollout and the codes that were handed to people in the early review period in a way that they thought that made people believe that they were deliberately trying to do something that would cant things in their favor. What I said is that Fallout 76, because it didn't come out to good reception, has a bad rap. That is a matter of perception, image, and exposure, not a matter of review scores. What I said is that they should do something, or they could have done something, and they didn't do maybe as much as they could have to help with that pie, that perception, image, and exposure. So Rodimus posted something really good in the chat. He talked about the numbers that are on Steam right now, and he talked about for Fallout 76, it's I think 52,000 or 46,000 something or other concurrent players.
And now it's hovering about 10K. Yeah.
And then
it's grown organically. Yeah.
Yes, it has grown. But you look at Fallout 4, and their peak today was 147, and concurrent players right now is 147. So my point is, again, going back to the ARPU conversation, is that if you're 147 players, 47,000 players are on your games as a service game, then there's upside to that from an ARPU perspective and lending to the strategy versus the one, people are going to go buy Fallout 4 at $20 and then they're going to be done. That was my whole point. And it's not to take away from the success or to say that organic growth. Look, I mean, everybody knows the positives, right? My point is take a look at some of the things that may have been missed or things that could have been optimized or things that could do better to help contribute to the ongoing strategy.
This is why we like Gamer Logic on the show. He comes with that beam counter perspective, and that is the also important perspective because that's what gets actually things greenlit and gets things done. right? We think of it from I want this as a gamer. Yeah, you want it as a gamer, but if it ain't making dollars, it ain't making sense. You know what I'm saying?
Before you move on from that, the last thing I guess I would say on that is the 47K number versus the 146. Yeah, you do want the higher number in your service game because that's probably where people are gonna spend more money. So I 100% agree on that. But I think there's also kind of this thing where apart from people having a bad connotation about the game itself, there are a lot of RPG players that have a bad connotation about service games to begin with, right? Like, so for me, in general, even if I knew Fallout 76 could have been great, if I was going to play one of them, it would be Fallout 4 because I know that has an end. So I think, I wonder if that plays into some of why the numbers are where they are, just because maybe the kind of Fallout player doesn't want to be sucked in another black hole game because, time ain't cheap. So,
yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is that, and there's definitely probably causality to the reason why the numbers there are. All I'm saying is that I would contend that there's clearly spend and effort and valuation in terms of executing on strategy in terms of marketing and PR with Xbox. And I'm saying that being the case, having a video or some additional content on Xbox Wire about Fallout 76 might have been an okay thing. Having, getting a few live streamers, right, to do something about Fallout 76 or point to some content in Fallout 76 or to do something to raise the floor off of what it organically settled at in terms of Fallout 76 in the course of this campaign would have been, probably wouldn't have necessarily been a bad thing, is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
which
and I don't
100% agree with.
Yeah. You know what, Logic, while you're here and you're talking about the speeds, the financials that we appreciate, how about you take us through this topic of the year-over-year numbers that Microsoft seems to find himself beating expectations. People want to throw asterisks all over the place, but let's hear your take on it. Obviously, you see the headline, you can read much further into it. And for those of us who may not spend as much time looking into it, it's very clear that with this acquisition of ABK, they have done in 3 quarters what they couldn't do, year on year, many years behind. And this chart here is looking at it since 2015, but it looks like in three quarters of the normal 4, they have hit a new benchmark. Even though hardware sales are down. What's your take, sir?
Yeah, I think my notes are and I'll admit I'm a little less polished than I would normally be. Normally by this point I would have gone through the investor slide decks from the earnings call, which is what I really base a lot of my commentary on. But I would just say my general takeaways are, I always contended that it was a good idea for Xbox, for Microsoft really to go after ATVI. Made total sense in terms of their strategy. Didn't necessarily agree with the impact on competitiveness in the market, but from a strategic perspective, what would I do if I were Xbox? Absolutely. I've also always contended that acquisition is part of competing. And you can't say, a competitor can't use their financial strength to leverage and try and raise the floor on what their competitive stance is. I think, my takeaway from these financials is it puts up a question mark about the other 23 Xbox studios. Let me walk that back just a little bit. So I think, first of all, these numbers don't mean anything in terms of what I'm expecting to see from Xbox in its execution of its strategy based on what we've heard since January. I don't think these earnings come out and there's going to be a huge groundswell thematic change in the messages that have been getting put out. I don't think all of a sudden Sarah Bond stops saying every screen is an Xbox, right? I think all of that, right, the vector is still going forward. I would also say, just to kind of round out the picture of my stance, even though I think some people have heard it before, my general view on Xbox is everything from a strategic perspective going back to 2017. I've never had a problem with Xbox strategically and where they're going. I have had a problem with Xbox's execution. I have had a problem with Xbox's focus, I have had a problem with Xbox's overall management of its production pipeline from a development resource perspective. What I think these numbers mean.
You're taking issue with Booty. I understand. Peaches has a problem. I hear you.
I am not a fan of Matt Booty.
I understand.
It's not that I'm not necessarily a fan.
You're not a fan of his execution style. He's not a closer like that.
I always try and equate the tangible outcomes, right, based on what Matt Booty verbalizes, and those things don't necessarily true up to me. And then I kind of don't understand, the series of not successes that lead to promotion. That's a weird thing to me.
In other words, you're a milkman.
How do you mean that? Sorry.
No, it's one of our childish jokes. Don't worry.
Okay, gotcha.
You're not into the booty. You're a milkman.
Man babies, ladies and gentlemen. Man babies. I'm sorry. Continue, sir.
So my overall feeling on kind of what we've seen from the numbers is, overall a good news story. One, I think the proof in the pudding that needs to be seen, which I don't think there's been enough time to be, is what I've talked about the entirety of the time since 2018. Is if you're really trying to assess, the goes into versus the goes out on this, you have to look at what Microsoft has spent in aggregate for acquisitions, right, from the period of time. Really if you even go back to Mojang, right, and then from 2018 forward, and you look at how much has been invested in acquisitions and ask yourself the question and run the calculations to determine if they're getting the output out of that's required. One of the things that I wrote on Twitter yesterday is I said, and I may not have it memorized right now, but there's three things that you need to do to assess whether or not an investment was successful and whether or not it was worth the squeeze. And just linear revenue is not it, right? It's, did it change your competitive posture in the market? Now I can't remember the other two, so I will have to look those up. But my point is, and I went back to, the Nokia purchase, right? The Nokia purchase didn't change. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Please continue.
Yeah, the Nokia purchase didn't change the competitive posture and the competitive stance for Microsoft in the mobile phone market. It did not incentivize developers to make more apps for Windows Phone. It did not improve relationships with carriers, right? And so then when you look at that investment and you look at the outcome, then you go, I don't know that did what it needed to do. So that's the question that will need to be asked over time is and I've run the calculations and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of, $110+ billion that have been spent overall in acquisitions. And you look at what that provides you. And from a revenue perspective, it's not, like I said, it's not a quarter by quarter look. It's, did it provide the linear revenue, but then also did it contribute to an accelerating growth factor going forward? And then I think the last question it evokes in my mind, from a consumer perspective is, we know that Activision loves to take studios and convert them to COD support studios. You have a larger footprint.
We call them the salt mine. We call them the salt mine over here. The salt mines of Call of Duty.
You have a larger footprint now of what needs to be done with COD. And I've talked about this since the acquisition. You have COD as it exists today. Let's just put that at the center point on a sliding scale, right? You've now said you're going to deploy it to Nintendo. That's a +1. You've now said you're going to deploy it to the cloud. That's a +2. And then you've made other indications of where you're going to take it in terms of platforms. At the end of the day, that's more level of effort that has to be leveraged. And you've also committed to having those things at parity. And what I've said, for a very long time is that PvP shooters do not play natively in the cloud with parity of where people are playing on Metal. And what has Phil been saying since late 2022, I think was the thing, is that he wants to build out games as ecosystems where everyone plays on different hardware sets in the cloud, on mobile, on PC, and on console, and that none of those players feels like they're second-class citizens. If you dovetail that with what we've said about COD, that means getting to a point where people are playing COD and nobody feels like a second-class citizen, and that's not how COD's built today. That's not how games are built today. It's not how code is written today. It's not how infrastructure is oriented today. So, right, you're looking at a thing now from these financials where you're saying, well, Activision Blizzard is really the thing that's carrying your day, And then I just go, okay, when the bean counters come in and they start asking, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Is it worth it to make games for Xbox, let's just say ostensibly, that aren't really moving the needle, but these Activision Blizzard portfolio games are, then why are we not putting more level of effort onto those Activision Blizzard things? And oh, by the way, you have to put more level of effort over there because of the things that you've committed to do with at least Call of Duty. We've talked about porting WoW to console, which again, strategically, I think is a good move. It's smart. I said it's what they should do before the acquisition was even complete, right? But it's additional level of effort and it's additional work that needs to be done.
Yep.
So
I do real quick, everyone. I do see what your point is, Logic, about getting it to a place where everyone can play evenly. Does that mean you shave the corners even more so that it fits in a smaller performance profile versus how it is built today, where in certain instances it's pushing the speeds and feeds, if you will, in order to get to that world where it's all ubiquitous everywhere? Does that mean you dumb it down even more? That is a very interesting question to ask.
I don't think, in my mind, and I'm not saying that I'm right, I'm saying from a designer perspective, architectural perspective, and at some point, Deadly, I need to find out if you're a UI UX designer or a UI UX developer, just so I can make sure that I target whatever slander I'm going to throw in your direction appropriately.
Definitely designer.
Designer. Okay. In my mind, it is not. I don't think what I would do, and what I hear, it's not a matter of saying reducing the graphical fidelity on, say, PC, right?
Sure.
Those people should still get their ray tracing, although it's the first freaking thing that I turn off, and it's not really implemented like full stack wise on PC anyway.
True.
But like they should retain all their graphical fidelity and still be able to play at 140 frames per second. And look, if you've got an advantage on PC because you're playing at 165 frames per second or 240 frames per second over a person who's playing on mobile because they're playing at 60, 90, 120, to me that's really on the that's really in the area of esotericness of, you know, who has an advantage or who doesn't. Like that to me it's largely a matter of netcode, largely a matter of ballistics arbitration, largely a matter of TTK, right? Because what I can't do is I can't punish the mobile player who has no option but to play wirelessly, and I can't punish them via latency and lag when they're going 1v1 head to head with a guy who's on PC, right? I gotta, however,
who's using a keyboard, mouse, and an Ethernet gigabit connection.
Somewhere I've got to balance out right how those things are currently coded today in order for there to be competitive parity.
Yep, I agree. Right. I agree. Everborn, I'm sorry, you were going to
continue. We need to do that super chat from the
oh wow! I did not see that coming. Man, the legendary Yobi with $100 super chat, brother. You are ridiculously generous. What are you doing? That is crazy, brother. Thank you so much. He says, peace, love, life, Asante and Everborn. You two are a staple in this community. Thanks for existing, bro.
Thank you so much, good brother.
Man,
and don't forget
that is
Jax
amazing.
82 if we didn't get Jax 82.
Yes. We will definitely get to Jax 82 as well. He says, Jax 82 with a $5 super chat, also very generous. He says, was independent Bethesda really rushing to do Fallout 5 compared to Xbox Game Studios? Bethesda is not invested right now into doing another Fallout. Yeah, they were basically going through their motions, right? It was on the chalkboard, but it was kind of lower on the totem pole, and that's why we were initially advocating that maybe they hand it off to another studio who may have more time and resources to do it. We all know In Exile is what we're thinking about, but they are also in the middle of two different projects. So hey, it may not be just as easy as all that.
Josh Sawyer for
hey man, on this show we do not speak his name because he's already upset at you enough. He's blocked this man on Twitter.
I didn't even do nothing. But
sure you didn't do nothing. You called this game crap. Yes, you did.
I didn't say that until after he blocked me for no reason. And all I want is a dubbed version of the game. I don't want to read all that text. I'm sorry. It's not his fault that Xbox had no games in 2022, and that's all they had to show. But anyway, it's not his fault.
You see what's going on? You see what's going on? The slander will not stop with this man. Okay.
Just so to come back to these points, and I want to hear. Yes. As a matter of fack, don't come to me. Go to Deadly Headley. He is a first time guest. I'll come in on the back half.
Yes. Now, you, Deadly Headley, you are a console gamer by and large. right? As you see these numbers all topsy-turvy, they're saying, oh, we're growing in revenue, all the because of the ABK purchase, it's looking rosy on that side. But obviously console sales are not doing as good, and there's most likely reasons for that. I don't know how far in that you read, or from your perspective, hey man, I'm getting my games and that's it. What are your thoughts on what the numbers look like?
So surface level for me, I kind of, selfishly, I look at my experience as someone who games on Xbox and what that ecosystem offers to me. And I think as a gamer, generally, I'm quite happy with what I get from my personal experience right now. So this was actually a question I posed to Asa when we were talking on the Xbox Series podcast the other day. Basically, sort of wondering what we can read into with the fact that hardware sales are down significantly, but when we look at both Sony and Microsoft, they still have a very large user base on older hardware, and what that sort of says to whether or not the hardware that's currently on offer is sort of offering enough of a substantial upgrade. I think personally it is, but also I think financially it's definitely worth looking at whether or not that jump is viable to a lot of users, because the main games that they might still be playing, and again we think about the casual market playing Fortnite, GTA, Call of Duty, the top three games on every single platform players list, they don't necessarily need to upgrade their hardware to be able to get those experiences somewhere else, but obviously they're going to have a better experience if they do. I think the biggest question that I have is how both PlayStation and Microsoft try and rectify that, and whether or not that gulf is going to get smaller this generation or not. And Ace's sort of broad analysis of that was, usually you expect user bases to shift as console hardware goes down, but goes down in price, but console hardware has actually gone up a little bit for both platforms. And I guess actually, Logic, what's your read of that in terms of where hardware sales are now, and do you see, what do you think the implications are for both ecosystems based on that?
I mean, it's a little weird. So,
it is weird.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So if you talk about the historical trend, right? Normally, what we're accustomed to seeing, we're about to get the PlayStation 5 Pro, as a for instance, theoretically, and as a for instance, right? What we experienced with the PlayStation 4 Pro was the 4 Pro came out, the PS4 base dropped $100, and then the PS4 Pro came in at the same price, right, as the PS4 launched at. Every indication and warning at this point is that is not what is going to happen.
Definitely not happening.
Right? Nope. PS5 is going to stick right where it is. Right, the full SKU. The PS5 digital is going to remain where it is, which is actually, like you mentioned, $50 above what it was. And we expect the PS5 Pro to come in somewhere more expensive, right, than the baseline.
Hey man, Logic, so, they see you ROG Ally buyers. $6.99, son. Y'all are buying that. So why would they subsidize this? You know what I mean?
So and yeah, so it's kind of weird. Now there's again some, I guess, maybe inorganic weirdness to Xbox as well, because kind of sort of maybe ish, there's kind of some Xbox discounts that are kind of going on that aren't really like official or formalized or institutionalized, but you can definitely go get a Series X and or a Series S. I mean, I think the lowest I've seen you able to get a hold of a Series S has been like $199, right, at some places.
And those $149 at my local Costco during the holiday.
Yeah, and yes, like there's
such a good deal.
Right, insane deal. Yes,
we kind of teeter on the edge and tiptoe around. Well, that's not really a discount, or but those things are being incentivized, right? There are conversations going on about that. Those things are not just happening just because mom and pop shop decides they're arbitrarily going to discount it and eat the cost, right? Yeah. Those things are happening out of discussions of supply pipelines between retailer and vendor, i.e., Microsoft and Xbox. So there's that. What I have said and what I will continue to say, and we're seeing some of that reality come along again from reinforced rumors that we constantly get, is what I've contended, in Slow-Mo's in the chat, and I think he remembers that Gaming Forte initially disagreed with me. I said, look, NVIDIA, AMD, and everybody who's a downstream consumer from them, ODM for them. The march of technology is not going to stop or slow down just because there was a pandemic and a supply shortage and people weren't able to buy consoles. Like, the next generation of GPUs is going to continue marching along. And in fact, this week we're seeing from NVIDIA, now you're getting some pull from their AI ventures, right? The whole discussion that we're going to potentially see 5,000 series cars at the end of this year are not necessarily because of native market dynamics for GPUs, but it's because that chip and architecture that the AI components are based on, they are going to launch at the end of this year to feed NVIDIA's AI business. And those chips have some shared roots with what's going to go on in GPUs. And the notion is that, well, if we're going to put the AI stuff out there, everybody's going to see what's going into the GPUs anyway, so we may as well launch the GPUs. There's no point in keeping those behind the curtain. Now, remains to be seen if it actually turns out that way. But it's very hard to say whether or not the normal historical trends that we were accustomed to seeing with hardware, not just financially, but also technologically, because there's a weird thing going on now too, where normally what we see is the console comes out and we're only heading towards the halfway point of the generation, but we're accustomed to seeing developers get a better handle on the tools and start learning tricks and start being able to make better games. But we're still seeing some type of breaking effect, like chilling effect on games reaching higher fidelity and higher performance at different stratifications of the technology landscape between PC and console. And I feel like we're not really hitting those points necessarily where we see some platforming and takeoff points that we would normally see.
Yeah,
I hate to say it. I think some people are going to be angry. I think you are seeing some of that in some ways on PlayStation. And I think some of that is going to wind up really being accelerated by them using proprietary frame generation technology and bringing Pisser, which is a slow-mo branded term. So I'm not going to steal that from him.
That's right. The Pisser.
And it's going to be interesting to see if the Pisser gets licensed and sold for other people to use, if it really comes out to be better than AMD's own frame rate generation. You also have some weirdness with frame rate, and I'm sure you guys are going to talk about it. I apologize. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But, FSR is not just AMD. It's actually a cohort of people who make FSR and includes Qualcomm and Samsung. So you've got Snapdragon chips now in laptops. You've got on all, Windows on ARM, those potentially being used for gaming, so that may also cause some weird market dynamics. So I think all I can say right now is all I know is that we're not seeing what we are accustomed to seeing if you go back to the historical norm, and somewhere, somehow that's going to cause a thing that's going to again yield like an outcome that we're not accustomed to seeing based on the historical norm.
So just
I still agree with you. Go ahead, everyone. Yeah.
One thing I would just around the gaming on ARM. I know I've been kind of the wet blanket today, but if you watch Qualcomm's reveal of the
reintroduction of ARM on PC, yeah.
If you watch that whole 20-minute video. And remember, this is a marketing thing where they're using their own benchmarks to make it look the greatest it could possibly look. And we know whatever they say, it's going to be something less than that when you get it in the real world. That's just how these things
grain
work.
Grain of salt.
And in that video alone, he was kind of throwing cold water on gaming, saying they have work to do and that, right now it's good for casual games. If they're saying that in their marketing thing where they're supposed to play up everything, I think that means we have a ways to go before we can do what we expect for ARM emulation. Again, I'm still excited about it. We're due for a new Surface in this household, so I'm going to get one. But I don't know if we can say that is going to, if it's in the place where it can be the holy grail we want it to be. Yeah, so that's the gaming on ARM thing. There was a couple of things around these numbers. Obviously, there was some irresponsible reporting in terms of saying deceptive and things like that. One other thing that I will say before I get into my whole thing about what I glean from these numbers is I feel like we have to
get away, and no one on this panel is doing that, but I'm just talking about the broader discourse. We have to get away from binary thinking of thinking, well, they're not beating PlayStation, so they must be thinking of exiting the business or thinking of drastically changing, right? Like Mazda doesn't sell as many sedans as Toyota does. No one says, is Mazda going to get out of the business, right? It's just if you are making money, and I'm going to assume that they are, again, revenue is not profit, that people still need to be reminded of this, but I don't think they're going anywhere, and I think these numbers are doing what they expected. They said Call of Duty performed better than it was going to do. They bought it so that they could remember. Right now, if PlayStation is anything to go by, because they're a little bit more transparent with their numbers, the sort of console model, the margins are lower than what a traditional software company would look at. If you look at what Microsoft is usually used to on the providing software and services, they work on like a 30 to 40% margin, right? And that's just not whatever. Again, they don't tell us what their profit was or their accountability margins, as they call it. They don't really tell us that. We got a sneak peek in the FTC trial, but again, I'm going to assume that the margins for the Xbox division were not as high as the LinkedIn division or some of the other divisions. Forget about the revenue. I'm talking about the percentage of money of profit that they make, right? And so I think this is good because Activision is going to bring in higher margins. I think Activision was operating at something like 25% margins. But that brings a question. And I know I just said get out of the binary thinking, and I want to ask you this, Game Logic. I owe my entire career to the Windows Phone. It is what got me into development. I famously developed 2 games for the Windows Phone. One did fairly well, and it's what started my whole comic book thing, right? But I was there, and I went down with that ship. And Satya
you and me
was
both.
yeah. Satya was the captain of that ship at that time, and one of the first things he did when he came in was he got rid
Freddy
of the Windows
Fingers.
Phone. I called him. We called him Eddie Scissors. That's what my Windows Phone cohorts called him. Anyways, when we hear about them having 7 of the top 25 games on PlayStation, when we hear about Satya mentioning that to investors, and again, Satya has to say that because if your console numbers are down 31%, you need to tell the investors, hey, we just took $70 billion from you. This thing's going well. So of course, Satya has to talk that up. But my question is, if Activision being everywhere is the large majority of where the margins are coming from, and obviously it goes without saying that it is the cause of the growth because they didn't have it before. So when they're comparing it to Q3 fiscal 2024, that's what we're in, or are we in 25? Whatever we're in.
Yeah, we're in 24. You're looking on the screen right now. There's the number.
So when we compare that to fiscal 23, Activision was not in the mix, so the number goes up. This is basic thing. There's nothing deceptive about it, IGN. But these are basic things. Obviously, it goes up. But the question is, if all of the margins, and these margins are in line with what the company wants, if the margins are coming from the strategy that is a multi-platform strategy, at what point does someone come in and say the hardware is the biggest drag on our margins? Right? And this is why I just think for me, right? They really should be heavily focused on this mode for Windows in a way, not because PC gamers want to play the way I play, right? PC gamers are comfortable playing with their mouse and keyboard with their desk whatever. Shut up, slow-mo. But if you don't want to lose all your console gamers who are, this is not me saying this. It's not me like with a Dunning-Kruger effect on my importance to Xbox. This is Xbox execs telling you that their console players are the most highly engaged and they spend the most money on the platform. If you don't want to lose them, you have to give them a ramp, and you have to give them something they can understand. And I think that's that's moving to PC. I think they will spend more money. I think we've seen things that prove they'll spend more money. And so they need to be focusing on that user interface, because I do think there's a day coming where the people that count the beans say, why aren't we everywhere? Look where the margins are coming from. And something you said, Game Logic, echoes something I said the day after the deal was announced. And I'm not saying this in hindsight. We said it right here on the show. My concern for the Activision deal, although I always believed that it should go through, this is where I disagree with you, Logic. I thought that it would be good for competition, right? And I didn't think you could block a deal because you don't like Microsoft. Not you, but there are people that feel like big tech shouldn't be making any acquisitions, right? That was my thing. But my concern about it from day one was, do we lose the identity of Xbox? And what that means is exactly what you said, Logic. Call of Duty and Overwatch and WoW are making all the money. Call of Duty and Overwatch and Diablo are everywhere. Are we going to start diverting funds away from the South of Midnights and Clockwork Revolutions and Fables and Halos? And are we going to push that money towards the Diablo expansion and the new Overwatch, whatever, and whatever mobile thing we're doing? Because that's where the money is, right? There is a misconception that I see a lot in the gaming discourse that Activision will provide funds to the other studios, not if those other studios are losing money, right? And so Activision is not.
That's exactly what happens in college sports, right? I mean, anybody who's gone to a Division I school
I don't watch sports,
knows.
so I don't know.
Okay. So the paradigm in NCAA sports, particularly at Division I schools, is the football team makes all the money. Like that dude Rowan Crew is not making money for the sports program. Maybe the lacrosse team maybe makes some money, but like the vast majority of the sports teams don't make any money. They largely get their funding from the football team. No, I'm not saying that sports is the same as games. I'm just saying that there's an analog.
But the fans are. The fans are the same.
I'm just saying there's a discussion point to be had, right? And I don't think it's necessarily impossible to conceive of a world where Call of Duty does what it needs to do, WoW does what it needs to do, so that as part of the brand's identity, again, going back to perception, image, and exposure, so that we can fund the Clockworks and the South of Midnights. Thank you for naming that game. I put in our DM. I constantly refer to that game as Bijou Bayou because I could never remember the name of it. So, but you know, there's nothing that says from a strategic perspective and from a financial positioning perspective that can't be the thing, right? I mean, you look at EA, and that's kind of partially what goes on at EA, right? The big tentpole sports franchises are the thing that funds and allows them to go do things like the EA Partners Program,
like Tales of Kinsara. Yes, the big games fund Tales of Kinsara.
Listen, if that is in fact the way it works, then I'm all for it.
Well, but you know what?
I don't know that I trust some of those moneymakers to do that.
Let me put a side on yours, right? I don't necessarily think that you see those other the bespoke brands go away, the bespoke franchises go away. But I do echo your concern that maybe they start putting more gas elements into those other franchises because that's what keeps making all the money, right? I don't foresee South of Midnight going away. I don't foresee the Halos and all those going away. But maybe you start giving them more of those gas elements that are producing all the funds on the Call of Duty side, that are producing all the funds on the Overwatch side. So now you get hero shooters that are Halo. versus your campaign that is Halo. That is a concern that I have. What do you think of that?
I mean, yeah, or what I like is the Warzone mobile approach. How about you make, instead of like just like, you have to cater specifically to specific markets, right? Now, Logic, you say this a lot. You can't just go into the mobile space and give them a console game and think they're going to like it, because it's a different audience. Same thing with PC to an extent, although that Venn diagram is becoming closer and closer to a circle. But I think that there's a certain sort of core gamer, and right now we still spend a lot of money. I think you do that, and if you want to expand, you expand by making a mobile variant of that game that the play mechanics cater to what people like on mobile. And there's growth there, and there's opportunities to be had because people know of the IP, even if they're not playing the new game, so they can still make those things for us. That I'm totally okay with. The other thing that I would say is, and I want to know what you guys think about this, the panel. We've all saw the chart. We've all seen what Matt Piscatella has said. We've all seen these other things about the amount of time and money that is generated by the top 6 gas games versus everything else, right? And those top 6 gas games, and I think you alluded to this, Headley, are also available on past platforms, right? On last generation, right? So if you actually don't have a need, if you're not like core gamer, cutting edge, I need the latest, why would
you're not
you
Everborn Saga,
if the costs? Yes, if you're not Everborn Frivolous Spender Saga,
Frivolous Purchase Saga.
Why
that's right.
would you upgrade if those prices are not coming down? And this is why I think there's a disconnect between when you hear, and again, how are they counting these metrics? Well, that's a discussion for another day. But like, what if the console usage is going up, but we see that sales are console hardware sales are going down or flat? If you compare it to the previous generation, I think it's a little bit lower at this point. How are their console usage things going up? And I come back to this Game Logic. You said that this was a weird generation in terms of upgrade path and things like that. And because I believe once we went to x86, we needed to rethink our concept of what generations are, because so many games are cross-platform. So many games are basically running on the same set of tools, especially on the PlayStation side. I think
generations are a marketing term, not an actual technological leap anymore.
Yeah, Xbox moves from UWP to the GDK, I think, at the start of this generation. So their tools are a little bit different, but it's still basically the same underlining hardware architecture. And they're basically both using these AMD chips with their little different little flavors on top of it. And so that's why, to me, this just feels like an extension of last generation. It's also why, and I wanted to ask you this, Logic, I, to this day, do not see what Sony's going to get out of a PlayStation 5 Pro, right? There's a significant cost to develop, market, and distribute that thing, right? You're already sort of mopping the floor in terms of console sales versus the Xbox. And I think the people that are still on Xbox are kind of locked in. You're not going to get them for the most part. And so you were already going to get this money. Your name is sort of synonymous with console gaming. So what is the upside for Sony to do to release yet another piece of hardware, which is going to be very expensive, and they're already talking about these lower margins?
So I hope Slow-Mo's still in the chat. I think, Slow-Mo, we've officially had Everborn surpass Forte in asking the panel like 99 questions in one in one barrage that I don't remember what you initially
cut me off, man.
So I just
I've been told not to cut people off. I'm being nice about it. You know?
The one thing I'll try and I'll refine just from my own perspective is, so going back to the notion of console generations, I think it bears recall, right, in terms of gaming industry history, that console generations were not a thing that the industry made up. They were a thing that the media made up and consumers made up. We started talking about console generations. So I mean, there's that. The notion of the PS5 Pro and some of the things that we said. So one thing I want to call back is for first party. I'm not sure that I've actually read literature on how it impacted third party, but for first party, not much of a cost delta for them. You can go back and you can read articles where studios literally had one or two developers doing the PS4 Pro enhancements. So it was almost zero impact to the overall level of effort. I shouldn't say zero, but it was incredibly small and a drop in the bucket for them to enable PS4 Pro enhancements. So I don't think that that's a major consideration for them in terms of implementing games. I personally think there's more effort going on behind the veil that we can't see in the discussion and the level of effort, and again, what's going into Pisser. Because in my mind, the only reason that Pisser exists is if you're not happy with FSR. So you decided I constantly draw comparisons between PlayStation and Apple, and Sony and Apple, and that's been going on for very long.
So real quick to your point about the Pisser being not something that that's a solution to FSR. They don't have FSR implemented quite in the same way because of their Linux development pipeline. Is it possible? Yes, but it's a much higher uplift. Whereas Microsoft can just leverage it a la Windows and they're fine. FSR can be implemented on the PlayStation side, but it would require that translation layer that they don't want to spend all that R&D dollars dealing with. So they're just going off and rolling their own. You know what I mean? Like. So I do kind of see that is why they are doing their solution, because it's necessary, right? They can't use the Gen Pop solution because their underlying infrastructure just does not allow for that to be as turnkey as it is on the other guys, you know?
And this feeds back to Everboard's question, right? So this again go back to the Apple comparison, right? The reason for it is because they own the whole stack, and so therefore they want to do something that's tailored and super hyper laser targeted, right, for them. Because it benefits them, more than everyone else. So you'll go back to Everboard's question, why do a PS5 Pro? I mean, partially it's just because, but it's also because when you do think about the generations of technology and you think about Mark Cerny, designing what the next thing is because coming up with that halfway step gives them a chance to put something on the market, see how it works, feed the R&D pipeline for the PS6. In terms of you just have a lesser degree of technological debt to contend with in your uplift to PS6. So it provides some optimization, but I think at the end of the day for them, it just allows them to put more hardware out there. And again, this is kind of like the NVIDIA and AMD thing, right? Very many times in Intel and AMD, tons of times there are products and SKUs and parts that come out, and you're like, why the flip would you do that? A lot of the times it's simply so they can put that sticker on the box that says this is the fastest GPU being in production today, right? Because it's to say something, not necessarily to move anything. Yes, right. Sometimes you build something to be able to say you have one of them. Absolutely, I agree. And I think to go back to the one other question that I can remember is when you talk about console generations. And you think about where people, so my perspective is Xbox should not have console generations. It shouldn't be part of their discussion. I've talked about this thing about, what I personally think they should be doing for the next thing, which is like, just build a mini ITX box, use the current Xbox case, just make it a mini ITX case, put standard industry commercial components in there and make that your next thing.
Yes, with a UI.
But on PC, right, even though there are technology generations, the impact and the way we manage that as consumers, right, doesn't really align to any notion of generationality, right? I mean, there are there's definitely NVIDIA architectures and AMD architectures, and they have names, and you can label them, and they mean something architecturally in terms of pipelines, in terms of bit width, bus width, all that blah blah blah. You can peg a set of specs and parameters and say this applies to Kepler, this applies to whatever. So those things exist at the technology perspective in the background, but from a software perspective and how we manage it and how it impacts consumers, it doesn't have any impact. My point being, I think it's totally fine for them to do a PS5 Pro, because largely I don't think it's going to have any negative impact. It's just going to do what Sony often does, what PlayStation often does, which is it provides a slightly nicer thing that some of its high-end consumers are going to want and are going to go after. It's going to go out and become yet another thing that's available for new consumers coming into the market at that time, and it gives them more choices. Just like Samsung makes 5 different SKUs of a phone, right? So they can hit all those different stratifications of the market and serve every single customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Ooh, before we move forward here, though, let me get the great Hargeet Chani, who's been a member for 3 months. He asks a pointed question. Mr. Everborn Saga, sir, the idea of using one game to subsidize another is literally what PlayStation has been doing, using the profit from COD to go fund games. At least that's what they told us. Why can't Microsoft do that too? Go ahead and answer that, and then we'll move
absolutely can. My question is, will they? That's what I want them to do, but I also wanted them to buy Sega, and they bought Activision instead. So
there you go.
We are where we are. I am only saying that there's a hyper focus. You can believe me or you don't have to believe me. There is an internal hyper focus on ROI right now,
yes,
and individual
yes,
products standing up for themselves, right?
Yep.
And so, and this is how they're approaching the different studios, and this is why they are leveraging PlayStation on different titles, and that it's not a whole host approach. It is certain titles that need to do better for whatever internal metrics they set. And so if that is the way they are thinking, if we get to a place where Clockwork Revolution is a fantastic game, and the critics love it and the players love it, but like Hi-Fi Rush, it doesn't sell. And then they have a string of those where Hellblade, maybe everybody loves it, but it's not gonna hit the mass audience because it's not that type of game. And they have a string of those. Does anyone worry that they will fall back on their core tenets? I think Sea of Thieves is now one of those core tenets, but that's a multiplayer game, right? Minecraft is a core tenet. COD is now a core tenet, just like Overwatch and Diablo and WoW. And so my only thing that I worry about as a tech company who like you said, they've spent 80, 100 billion in the last 10 years or whatever on acquisitions that are gaming related. I think Minecraft is paying for itself in full, in spades. But they're going to want to make that money back. And do they make that money back by continuing to fund the projects that we all love here? And as long as that answer is yes, I'm shouting from the rooftop. And
so I think, just to jump in at the end, I think they will, because I think my sort of general view of the strategic move that Xbox has made as of this year in terms of putting essentially third-party publishing games on PlayStation, and I know there was a lot of sort of uproar and backlash, etc. Ultimately, I see that as a way of Microsoft being able to secure the IPs that it needs to be able to continue to fund, and Call of Duty being a massive money printing machine is definitely one way that I think that they could do that successfully. And I also think that I think that Xbox recognizes the importance of its core kind of pillar IPs, purely based on the reaction for the business update alone, in terms of going, okay, what's going to happen to Halo? What's going to happen to Gears? I think Bethesda titles like Starfield and Indiana Jones are a bit of a difficult one, because I think pre-acquisition, Bethesda would absolutely expect to be publishing those everywhere, whether or not there was some sort of timed exclusivity deal or whatever. I think their intention there pre-acquisition would be we'll put it everywhere that anyone can buy it. I don't think that Microsoft is going to let its sort of core pillar IPs suffer as a result of looking to prioritize publishing games on other platforms, because it knows that essentially in the same way as you would treat content on Netflix or Disney Plus, you have exclusive content that you can only get on those services. And I think for me, I feel that Game Pass is probably Microsoft's most valuable USP right now for Xbox as a platform. And I think when you look at the kind of content that you can get via subscribing to Game Pass, the exclusive content is the thing that's gonna sort of matter to users and keep people coming in. And that's sort of what would expect to be third-party content, and still is when we look at things like Diablo, Overwatch, Call of Duty, etc. They're there to make money and keep that machine rolling. So I think broadly, I don't worry about Xbox's software future, but I do. The thing that I worry about with Xbox is what happens when hardware sales don't follow through. When the next machine comes out, what's going to happen if we've still got almost 50% of the Xbox player base still on last gen hardware? Are they just going to skip the series generation? I know those terms are becoming a little bit more fluid, but what happens then? I think time's going to tell for that.
So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put a pin in this conversation because I don't want. I know that Deadly Headley is on limited time, and we want to make sure we get to the very last story before we get out of here. And real quick, again, thank you to the 500 people that are watching this across YouTube and Twitter and all those places. We got 500 people watching this. That is a benchmark for us. That is a new watermark for us. We are super excited to have y'all watching. Thank you so much. If you are on the YouTubes, please consider hitting that like button. Let the algorithm be fed. In the YouTube chat, support the devs. You saw me put that in there. This is the last chance you have. Put that in there.
Support the
if you
indie
win,
devs.
Support the indie devs. Forgive me. I'll actually even put the hashtag in there myself.
A distinction.
Yeah, there's definitely a distinction because some of these don't need our support.
Devs is a movement that started by people who wanted to support the publisher or the
True.
platform.
So that's what we're talking about right there. Put that in the chat. You get entered. I will hit the button in a few minutes. We will draw. You will then win a copy of Tales of Kinzarazao on your platform of choice. Reach out to us in the DMs. I'll get you a code, whichever platform you choose. This is your last chance. Support indie devs. Please put that in the chat right now, and you will be entered to win.
I want to say one last thing. It'll take 5 seconds. I am less concerned with where the games go, except for Halo, Gears, Forza. To me, they can do everything but those, because that's how I define.
Hold on to your butts. Hold on to your butts, ladies and gentlemen.
You will hear it from me. But I'm less concerned with where the games go so much as I'm concerned with that they are still making the Fables and the Clockwork Revolutions and whatnot. That to me is more important, and I don't want them to shift towards you got to be a game that's doing 50 million players, or we're not giving you the time of day. That's the thing that I want to. That's my concern about this.
So let's talk about the very last topic, and we'll get out of here because I want to get Deadly Headley's take on this as well. On the topic of Tales of Kinzara, which I have been enjoying. I know a lot of us have been enjoying playing it. There's been a lot of, and this is grown folk talk here. There's been a lot of tribalism that's going on in our gaming community the last couple of days, and Tales of Kinzara being one of the lightning rods. Another one being the old what do they call them? The old Stellar Yams, as some have called
booty
them. Game. the Yams, you know what I'm saying? Becoming a very big lightning rod. We can talk a little bit about the whole hard R thing that happened and all that. And I know that a lot of folks have talked about it, and I agree that conversation tends to be useful in the right context, right? I think we can all agree on this thing that on the topic, on the point that if you want to have a introspective, really fact-finding conversation with people on Twitter, just don't even, because what are you doing there? You're just opening the door to ridiculousness and anonymous tribalism and craziness. But I do think it is worth a valuable conversation to be had, because I know a lot of people have been talking about it, and some people are talking about the racism that's out there, and others are thinking it's carelessness and all of this. Everborn, you and I had a quick chat about this early on. I want you to take the first strike at this, because you had some interesting points to say. I will frame all of this by saying it. I've heard a lot of our content creators, friends, both in America and outside America, talk about how, we need to calibrate our thinking, because it's not always just focused in the States, right? And shout out to Deadly Headley for being here from the UK himself. So I do want to hear your points on how this stuff grabs you, because I think you are unique among many, being that you're an Xbox gamer in the UK. That is as rare as virgins these days, ladies and gentlemen. So
it's literally just me and Gaz.
yeah, literally in the whole place. So yeah, it is. I think a very interesting conversation for us to have. But Everborn, I think you should start us off with the conversations and as you've seen it, how it's become on the internet. What do you think?
Okay. Yes. Let me start off by saying, if you want some, because I know like what we're seeing, this is just like 30,000 foot. I think we are seeing the culture war seep its way more and more into the gaming discourse, and it is very tiring, because you're not really talking to people at that point. You're talking to ideas who it doesn't really matter what you say. You're not having a discussion. You're just talking to people who have chosen a side, and then that's it. So, and what to that, I would say I only discuss these things with people that I respect and I admire their opinions, right? Do not go onto your timeline and argue with a stranger, rando PFP person in the same way you wouldn't argue with a stranger on a New York City subway, right?
With an anime avatar.
Right. So yeah. So that's that. But the whole hard R thing, I don't like. I think the system kind of worked. A game almost shipped. It had someone caught a screenshot of something that could be seen as offensive in one of the region it ships in. The people in that region spoke about it. The game developer and the publisher said, "Oh crap, that thing's in the game. People don't like it. We're taking it out." That's it. End of story. We could have walked on. I don't have any issues with Stellar Blade developers shift up. I don't have any issues with Sony. I'm not spinning a narrative of they did this on purpose or there's some secret anti-black thing. Whether they knew, whether they didn't know, whether it was one person down the product chain that thought that was an edgelord and thought this was funny. Maybe there's one person down the product chain that was racist and then it just bubbled up because QA didn't catch it. Who knows? I guarantee you every company that every one of us works for has at least one racist person there. Like News at 11, water's wet. It is not about that. The point is the company caught it. They took it out. They should be praised for that. My issue with this whole discourse is, as a Black American, again, and I'm a second generation Jamaican. My whole family's from Jamaica. So I lived the immigrant life and the Black American life. I was born in New Jersey. But I see this, and when the first person I saw point this out was J-Rock, and I saw it and I laughed. I was like, wow, that's crazy they put that in there. And then they took it out. Fine. But the issue is, if I see that and if someone sees that and they say, hey, this is effed up, and they have 1 million people tagging them and in their mentions talking about, why are you complaining for? Around the world, they didn't see it that way. It's not all about you. Everything is not American. How about you shut the F up? They're releasing the product in America. This is a derogatory term. People saw it. People said something. And do the thought experiment. If this was an anti-Semitic thing, right? Do you think Jewish people would have complained? Do you think people would have told them to shut up? If I was releasing a game, if the next Everborn game came out and I'm shipping it in Korea and it has something that I didn't know about, but it is offensive towards people in South Korea, do you think people there wouldn't be within their rights to say something? What I feel like.
So one thing I'll interject some trolling. I'll interject into that statement you just made. That probably wouldn't happen because you'd most likely have a DEI consultant there to check your T's and dot your I's and make sure.
Listen, I'm coming to the DEI people in a second. But
it's amazing how many people missed that particular nuance, by the way. Like, this wouldn't have happened if you had a DEI agency involved, but carry on, Everborn.
But they're already dug in, so you say DEI, and then
it's like, Tales of Kanzara is crap because it's got DEI in it. Like,
and then the hoods come on. But anyway, the thing is this: it is not. It is not about what ended up in the game because they took it out. It is constantly, over and over again, at every instance. A Black American complains about a thing and says this is offensive, and they are constantly told to stop complaining. They're constantly told you're being too sensitive, get out of the victim mentality. And again, they're being told this by the same people that anytime they feel like a straight white male is disrespected in a piece of media, they got 35 tweets and 6 YouTube videos. So tell me who the sensitive one is. The point is, people are allowed to complain about it. This is not about Sony. This is not about Shift Up, right? This is about if a group of people is offended, they should be able to say something. And if it doesn't offend you, great. It doesn't offend you. But these are the people who it offends. And I am not going to come and tell an Irish person or an Italian person who is offended by a stereotype or a derogatory term towards them that they should shut up, right? Let people voice those opinions. And obviously it was a problem because Sony and Shift Up removed it. So good on, I see what you did there. But again, do not let anybody let anyone tell you you have a victim mentality. You saw something that was offensive and you said something. And it is up to the developer and the publisher whether they're going to do something about it. But and by the way, guess what? This is freedom of speech and capitalism working as designed. You're releasing something in a market. People freely said, hey, I don't like this thing. The company says, hey, this could be a shitstorm PR-wise and lead to us losing sales. Let's take it out. They did it. And that's it. So if you care about freedom of speech, you should also care about allowing people to complain, especially when you keep complaining that masculinity is under attack. Right? So you're not sensitive when you say that, but I'm sensitive when I say, hey, this thing's kind of racist. And by the way, putting a racist thing out, saying a racist thing that you didn't know was offensive, or maybe you thought you knew it was offensive, but you didn't think it was that offensive and it was funny. That doesn't make you a racist. I'm not calling you a Klans member, but I should also be able to say, hey, that thing you said was kind of effed up.
That's not cool.
Right?
That's right.
We should be able to have that conversation in both ways. We don't have to go into cancel mode. We don't have to go into conspiracy theory mode. But if people say something that because they saw something that was offensive, just like any other group, and the last thing I'll say about this is always, right? We had this whole DEI thing, and now people are like, SBI was involved with Zao.
Which it was.
Right. So what? Yeah. Right. But now, like clockwork, another game with a black lead, you got these same people that have a problem with it and think that it's some kind of conspiracy. And we should just let you know it's just the information. You don't want to mess with it. That conveniently. And by the way, Zao is a game that they said they wanted when it was convenient to say that. They were using Zhao as a straw man. Don't mess with SBI. Don't do forced diversity. Do more things like Zhao with original characters and original story and original and new people behind the camera. We're all for that. And then when the game comes out, by the way, you should boycott this because they had SBI involved. Yep. Just like you should not mess with Alan Wake 2 because it happens to have a black lead. Just like you shouldn't mess with any host of other games that every time it comes out, anytime there's a dark face. Anyway, I'll leave it there before I get upset.
One moment. I will let Deadly Headley get his take. But before we do that, let me announce the winner of the contest. And I hit the button, and the winner is King Webb, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to you, King Webb. What's going on? I see you in there. Congratulations on winning Tales of Kinzera Zhao. Sir, hit me in the DM. I got you. I'll get you a copy on any platform you so choose. Thank you for taking part. Thanks to everybody for taking part. That was pretty awesome. So, King Webb, if you hear this, I know you were in the chat. Hopefully you're still there. Shout out, reach out to me in the DM and let's get you a copy.
Oh, one thing,
Tales of Kinzera Zhao.
And shout out to the winner. Hargeet says, like Mario, not offensive to Italian at all. Guess what? You know what I wouldn't do? Tell an Italian to shut up if he said it was offensive.
Shut up about it. That's right. Absolutely. Deadly Headley, sir. What are your thoughts? I know, this is a very hot button topic. Please, from your perch, from how you've seen it online and just in general, this is just one of many, as I'm sure you pay attention to this stuff. How does this grab you?
So generally, I don't really like the vitriol that has come off the back of pushback against SBI. I understand some of the concerns leveled towards SBI, and when I think about recent games, I know they have been quite prevalent in regards to their work, like Spider-Man 2, for instance. There were some story moments in Spider-Man 2 that sort of felt just a little bit ham-fisted and forced and not necessarily additive to the experience. But I don't get mad at SBI for that. I get mad at Disney for that. I get mad at the people who wrote the game, not the consultancy who is helping inform whether or not this particular sort of scenario is inclusive enough, whether or not it's accurately representative of people who are underrepresented in pop culture. We got there in the end.
Third time's the charm.
The hard R thing is awful. Like how that wasn't picked up, I don't know. I'm glad that it got corrected. I don't particularly like seeing people say you shouldn't get upset about this, because who the bleep are you to tell me that? Like,
we allow it. We allow at least one. Go for it.
And I know there's also been another far more ridiculous story with Stellar Blade, but that's a rather curvier, more voluptuous hill to die on, which I do not understand. Like I don't really care about how hot my video game characters are. I'm good. I don't care. But I get why some people do. That's fine. If you want to get that riled up over digital arse, then go for it. But I'm
bro, I'm so with you. There's so much status quo. There's just so much status quo. So if a few want to go the other way, I'm like, I don't care, man. You can still, like, 99.9% of comic books are still drawn as if they're wearing no clothes and it's painted on them. So if one of them wears normal clothes, who cares? That's just me. I'm sorry, but continue. Yes.
Yeah. It's really sad to see Tales of Kinzera Zhao get dragged into this as well. I didn't like that, and I actually got a little bit spicy on Twitter this week. So if you go to my profile, it's at @deadlyheadley_ to the culmination of that, where it was just some random, like, no face, like, not important account at all, but just said something that I thought was pretty gross. So I called them out on the podcast. So go and check that out if you haven't already. And we gave a copy of Tales of Kinzera Zhao, just in a way of, like, supporting the devs. But when we talked about it on the show, we sort of I made it out as if I'd bought this racist on Twitter a copy, and then we gave his copy away. But the sentiment behind it is support the studio.
There have been a lot of like out and out racism, like some really heinous stuff being just spoken. Like they're saying the inside words out loud just easily. I'm just like, crazy.
And it's like Twitter generally is a bit of a horrible place. Like it's not great as a platform, as an experience. It's not great. I kind of resent it using it as a content creator because it's great for promotion, but there's also a darker, shadier side to it as well.
Seedy underbelly. Yes.
Yeah, exactly that. But I think especially with how the discourse around DEI, SBI, and how that has sort of permeated itself into the content creation space, into the podcasting space, like it feeds that same animal that for me someone like Andrew Tate does, and I don't want that. I don't want more of that kind of I don't want that attitude and mentality drip fed into my community personally. Yeah,
I agree. How about you, Logic? I know you think deeply on many of these topics. How does this stuff grab you? Are you just kind of moving on? It doesn't really bother you, or are you out there cutting them up as you do with other topics? I see you out there. This man and his hammer is strong. He let me know what you thought.
Okay.
Hey, now stop that.
Yeah, I'm backing out of a little bit of those to a certain extent, but every once in a while I get incensed. I haven't spoken on this particular topic. Like now, I've spoken about this topic and this dynamic many times in the past. The first thing I want to say, and I am going to go directly into slander now. The things Everborn speaks on, I feel like sync with my own perspectives on it. However, what I will say, and I've seen evidence of it in this chat, I've seen evidence on Twitter, I've seen evidence in all of the chats of all of this whole YouTube gaming circle, is you denigrate and marginalize the emphasis of the things that Everborn says when you take this topic and you drag it into console warring. As incensed as I was by the things that have gone on, that maybe incenses me more. Yes. And so we've seen around both Stellar Blade, particularly Stellar Blade, we've seen attempts to take this and stick the blame on Sony as the reason for either it getting out or the other side as the reason for it being censored. Neither of which I think is 100% accurate. But the point is that using it as part of the bingo card and scoreboard of what's going on between these two flipping console vendors is like, I struggle to ascertain whether the original offense was the most ignorant thing or dragging it into console wars is just as ignorant or worse. Neither of these things should be about the consoles, right? They should be about how we each treat each other and regard each other, how we value each other. I just struggle to understand the whole interaction and behavior. I'm not a keep that same energy guy. It is one of the things that drives me batty more so than people saying words like cat card or ATM machine. But I mean, every vendor at some point cuts across this fabric, right? We had the Bonobo / Juneteenth incident with Halo and 343. We had, Apple and the allegations of worker conditions in China. If you had a DEI consultant, maybe the Google AI doesn't photo recognize black people as gorillas, right? So all of these things come up, and often they come up whether you have a DEI consultant or not. A lot of times it's a matter of whether or not you have a diverse team, right? Which is something that lots of people rail against when this whole discussion, but you're not hiring the most qualified people. No, knucklehead. The way I get the most qualified technical team, particularly from a software development perspective, is that I put a group of people together who all have different perspectives so that I don't have escapes and problems like you have with Bonobo, Google Photo AI, etc. Because people all of one demographic have blinders on and they can only see so many things. So you have to have that diversity. So I mean, from my own perspective, when each of these things come up, I don't each of us has to, they're all individual decisions, right? In terms of how they cross-cut with our own value systems. I will readily admit, I didn't stop buying Apple products because I heard of, worker conditions in China. I didn't stop buying Nikes when I heard of worker, like everybody's I haven't stopped playing Call of Duty because I heard of the allegations of Bobby Kotick. Each of us, there are things that I have chosen to not consume because I hear of certain allegations. All of us have to make those decisions ourselves and get them to true up. Some of the hypocrisy that I've seen around this topic in SBI, people trying to pin the tail on the donkey with SBI, and I'm like, no, guys, you had problems with this topic before. You're just using SBI as a tangible, realized lightning rod, right, to all rally around. I mean, kind of SBI is kind of your white hood. Let me just put it out there and be blatant. They should start just
calling it SEO instead of SBI. Really.
I see what you did there, sir. All right.
So, and the problem's a 360 problem, right? What we have is just like you said, right? The complaints about, don't make Captain America black, just come up with original black characters. But then when you come up with original black characters, then the tail you pin the donkey on is, it's because SBI is involved, right? Which is that's just BS and hypocrisy. The problem is you had a problem with it not being a straight white male, and you're fishing around and reaching and trying to find reasons to become accusatory about like why it's not a thing. At the end of the day,
you're not sensitive. You keep crying about straight white males, but you're definitely not sensitive.
Right.
I think there's this narrative of SBI pushing a quote unquote agenda, and I can't speak for SBI as to whether or not that's true, and I understand where that concern comes from. But if the agenda is to make more gamers feel included, why the fuck is that a bad thing? Like, seriously, why is that a bad thing? Why are we complaining about that? Why are we pushing against it? Why are we making I come from a place where this hobby back when I was a kid was something that was kind of marginalized and dismissed as something that isn't gaming isn't like that anymore. Gaming is one of the most popular media forms out there. It is so much more inclusive and accepted socially. So why are we as a gaming community tearing each other apart over who should be included and represented better in our games and who shouldn't? I feel like that's a really weird stance to plant your flag on and get angry about. And
absolutely,
it needs to change.
And why are we doing it when the platform owners themselves have said that it's inherently part of their core values? And I think Xbox has said they want everyone included. PlayStation has made games that shows that they want other people addressed and other demographics included, right? You can have all types of conspiracy theories about greedy corporations, but look, at the end of the day, every corporation is greedy. I participate in a corporation, I'm greedy. I will constantly want to get paid more money because I want to get a raise. That's just the way capitalism works, right? I'm not going to come here and tell you that I want to sell any of my products and just eat the cost, and then the end result of that is I don't get as big a bonus at the end of the year, right? Like, we need to true up and understand what motivates people and why capitalism exists and why it goes around. Like I said, it's an incredibly individual decision, right? But I feel like you need to read the room and become self-aware and understand where society is going. And if there's a strategy for a gaming platform that you contend that you love, and that gaming platform has said, we want everybody included, we want everybody in the pool, we want content that people see and it makes them go, hey, that appeals to me. I'm now interested in playing video games. I now think about doing whatever, right? That you should acknowledge that that's what they want to do. And if you really love the platform and you really love games and gaming, then I would think that you would start to align with that.
But Game Logic, you have to understand, what about BlackRock and ESG scores? These developers, they want to make all of their characters with big, humongous titties and fat asses, and they want them to be naked, and there's someone standing over their shoulder.
And by the way, Everborn
won't get funded because the Biden administration is stopping all of this. You have to understand, Game Logic.
She kicks.
You got to take that jiggle slider, and you want to put it all the way up. All the way
I will contend that, as my brother Khalif Adams said, that butt is schmedium at best. There's a lot more. Like, if you look, like right now, if you go to No Rest for the Wicked, you can get a badunk. What do we call it? Stella Yams is medium at best, but for some reason it is now the lightning rod for booty around here. I'm just saying, like, it's a little ridiculous. What I will say, what I will put, and obviously I'm joking, what I will put out there is, I know some of these conversations have been difficult for people to have in the streets. By the streets, I mean Twitter. We are all gamers. That is one thing we have above all these other tribalistic environments that we find ourselves in, whether it be politics or whatnot. You find yourself in party chats with your gamer buddies from all around the world. I have friends in Australia to various parts of Africa, to various parts of South Africa, to South America, all because of this gaming hobby, right? And because of that, we get to take and learn from each other, in these party chats when we're gaming together and we're having these conversations. If there are difficult questions you need asked, if there are things you need to understand, why is hard R such a thing? Why is crimer such a thing? These are the places to ask these questions, because then your brothers and your sisters can educate you like I get educated. We all make mistakes, right? And nobody's asking that, if you bring DEI into the room, that solves the problem. There is no solving of the problem, because we are a melting pot of gamers from all around the world. As Hargeet says, you can never strike it completely off the record, because you'll always find someone somewhere that gets offended. I say this all the time because my kids and I are watching DBZ. Popo is a djinn, but he still offends certain people. I'm just saying, right? You can't strike it from the record. But if you want to have an earnest and honest and fact-finding conversation, there are places for that. And it clearly seems like on the internet and poking people with sticks, it's just not that way. So if you hear the sound of our voices and you want to be educated and you want to educate someone else, right? For example, Tales of Kinzara, people were like, oh, he went and spoke to the god of death. Oh, that sounds a little Mormon. So I had to be in the DMs and talk to people and go, look, in my culture, death is part of life, and it equals transition. That's why the god of death is not there as an antagonist character, but as a helper character. Because in my culture, like, depending on how old you are when you pass away, we wear white because you have transcended onto a different plane, right? It's not sadness unless something bad happened and you died by accident or something like that. If you reach a certain level, day one, we'll wear red, we'll wear black. Day two of your funeral, we'll wear white, and it'll be a celebration. They'll be drinking and dancing, because you have transcended. That is not what you may be used to. But as we all find ourselves in these party chats and we're communicating with cultures from different places, that is where we can ask these questions and educate ourselves.
So
you know what I'm saying?
Let me say something real quick.
Yes.
The first thing that I'll say is what sucks about this whole thing is that I feel like gaming brought all of us together. Right? From doesn't matter the walk of life, doesn't matter the country, and that's the love right there. That's amazing about gaming. And it didn't matter if we had different politics, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of people that I met on Xbox and through Twitter and whatever. We don't have the same politics at all. But guess what? We're focused on the things that we care about, the things that we like, and I feel like if we could try to get back to that.
Yep.
Like, we might agree on 80% of things, but we spend 80% of the time arguing about the 20% that we disagree about. Mm-hmm. And that to me is an issue. But here's if you want the cold truth instead of the Anita Sarkeesian conspiracy theory, right? Mm-hmm. That's holding back your jiggle physics at gunpoint, right? Here's the real truth. Companies are in business, believe it or not, to make money. Right?
Oh my God, sir. Really?
There are more people from outside of Europe that are that were previously considered third world countries that did not have as much disposable income. And now, as those countries' infrastructure are building out, as those countries are developing, more of their population has more disposable income. Also, I don't know if you also know this, you are not going to live forever, right? 40-something-year-old man, your kids are coming online. They are not thinking about these things in different ways. And those people with more disposable income from around the world, they will want stories and games that will cater to them. So what companies are doing is not altruistic, and it is not being held hostage by anyone other than, hey, there are new demographics coming about that will have money to spend and buy our widgets. By that, I mean anything they're selling. So let's make stuff that will speak to those markets and try to do it in a universal way. That's all this is. It's not about you, right? It is only, all of it is business. And by the way, you're not a connoisseur of storytelling. I'm sorry. You didn't give a listen, bad games get made every day, right?
You got to add the B. Come on.
Bad writing.
You can't say that without the B. Come on.
Bad writing happens and bad side quests. All that happens every day. I did not see all of you people. Yes, you people. Listen, if the shoes don't fit, the strays won't hit. Right. So I did not see you people complaining about bad stuff before, other than, hey, this was bad. Let me move on. Now it has to be this conspiracy theory about it. And if you want a conspiracy theory from Everborn Saga, this always happens when we are in these election years, that the culture war infects film, it infects sports, it infects video games, because they want angry people who are motivated to go to polls.
Unfortunately, it is a very real lightning rod that is used politically, and we actually, sorry to get into British politics a little bit, but there was actually an MP. There was an MP in the UK who basically admitted in an interview the only way that the Conservative Party in the UK is going to win an election is if they hedge everything on culture wars, because they haven't got anything else left. They've spent 14 years in government, and there's nothing on their record that proves that they should be in for another year or another term. So they've openly admitted the best way that we're going to scoop voters up is by going after trans issues and race issues and just being horrible to people. It's
just like the Matrix 2 told you,
here
you
he goes.
think you're a freedom fighter, but really you're just a stooge of the government. So you think you're thinking outside of the box? You think you're red pilled? You think you're a freedom fighter? No, you were designed for. And
I mean,
sorry.
To go back to what everyone said, I mean, that's kind of the crux of where I have a lot of the problem with that group who's offended by, diversity and stuff in video games. And I'm like, look, when there was a video game and the protagonist was a straight white male, it was just a bad video game. But when it's a bad video game and it has a black lead, it's because the lead is black, because it's DEI.
Throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's horrible. We should keep it status quo. This is my problem, sir.
Yeah, it's the ascribing of causality that's just way off. And hey, I got news for people who need jiggle physics. I don't mind jiggle physics, but for people who need jiggle physics, for people who that's an imperative and a mandate, it goes right along with the theme at the opening of the show. Buy a PC, because Steam don't care.
Yeah, you can play whatever you want.
All that stuff is on Steam.
Get a Switch. You want a hand tie? They got everything for you on that thing. People think it's for kids. Like, it's crazy. It's just nuts out there. Anyway. But I think on that note, we should leave it there. Let me read BT Maverick's last super chat here, and I think we'll let him get the last word. BT Maverick 707 with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for being here, sir. He says, I was promoting ZOW on Steam Deck group, and the first comment was anti-SBI, and I told him, well, I would hate to see your games game wish list, because all those games will in one shape or form have DEI hate toxicity. The toxicity over is over. Great game. Thank you. Yeah, bro. Thank you so much for being here. I agree with that. Right.
Let me ask.
I always say this. Well, real quick. I always say this. How do you think Sucker Punch made one of the greatest Japanese games ever? A bunch of California dudes. How do you think that happened? Right. These situations are necessary. Sometimes you need to consult people. Sometimes you need to talk to people that are in the room, that are part of that culture. Right. That's the reason why. And this is another my once again my plea to Everborn Saga. Please play Ghost of Tsushima. It's one of the most amazing games you will ever play.
Well, now
and it was made by a bunch of California dudes.
And it's coming to PC.
You mean PCMR player? Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue. Yes, go ahead.
The question that I had is, Why is it exactly that these people hate SBI? Like specifically, is it because someone that worked there tried to get someone's Steam account banned? This is why it's infected the entire discourse. Is that really it?
No, you know why it is, because they're changing the status quo. That's why.
Is it
That's what it is.
Is it
there
because
has been I've seen some stories about potential bad actors at SBI, or people at SBI who have possibly pushed the quote unquote agenda too far and tried to overcorrect with things. So I don't believe in overcorrection either. I don't actually think that solves the problem. I don't know the ins and outs, and I think honestly to get the full ins and outs, I don't think even going down a YouTube SBI rabbit hole is going to solve that issue. I think we haven't really heard that much from SBI themselves, and when they do, they just get swarmed with abuse on Twitter as well, so that's not helpful either.
They may not be the best representatives of this consulting part, right? They still exist. These consultants need to exist. I'm sorry, everyone.
So
go ahead.
People don't like some of the things that some of the employees there said.
I think generally that is a big part of it, for sure. Specific individuals at SBI who have been associated with controversies left over from Gamergate, which I didn't really follow. I wasn't part of this community. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of crossover with personalities, which I don't think that's a great look. But it's for SBI to solve. It's not for children on the internet to get really, really mad and hateful over.
Well, my thing is, if we're creating lists, because if that's what the crux of it is, there are bad actors who have said bad things within the employee roster of SBI, right? And people want to boycott that because those people said very bad things, right? Bobby Kotick threatened to kill a fucking person, and people are buying COD every goddamn year, right? There are people...
Nintendo is backed by the Saudi royal family who are literally killing journalists and moving and not doing anything. PlayStation is forcing people to live under their desks.
But okay,
nobody cares.
Right. So all of that happens, and we know those things happen because individual employees of companies do things. There are people employed by companies that you people love that have been said heinous things, some done heinous things, some have been arrested. But you draw the line when you see a black face in the game. How dare they?
Yeah.
But take the hood off is what we're saying. Take the hood off. It is what it is.
I think I'm going to
I think we're done there. Yes. I think we're done there. Before we start going more than on that line, we need to pump the brakes. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, we had fun on this episode, as we tend to have fun on these episodes. Thank y'all so much for being here. Shout out to King Webb for winning the Tales of Kinzara contest. I actually in the DMs just sent him his code. So salute to you, sir. Let us know what you think of the game. Appreciate you being part of this community, as I appreciate all of you being part of this community. I see you in there, both content creators and viewers of the show. Fuzzy, Belvedere, Roshan Eppinger, the brother Infinite Umbra, John Wolf, all of y'all. We really couldn't do this without you guys. Hey, Ron, we got to get you on the show, brother. Like we appreciate all of you jumping in here and always being a great part of the conversation. About 600 people watching right now, still over YouTube and Twitter and all the places you can find us. Thank y'all so much for continuing to support us. Oh, super chat before we go. Jerome Worthy with a $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, "Logic, we heard that you seen Console War on Tinder." Oh boy.
Yeah, I hope I said Twitter. I definitely did not mean
Tinder.
Tinder.
Say Tinder by mistake. I was gonna jump in, but I didn't want to cut you off.
I do not have a Tinder account. Yeah, I was definitely talking about Twitter. My apologies.
Yeah, you may want to hide that. Now that people are gonna be looking for your Tinder profile. You gotta be careful.
If you can find my profile on Tinder, please, you are full on.
Don't do that.
Please let me know.
People are gonna create that one for you. You gotta be careful. Don't be asking people for that. They're gonna give it to you. Don't do it. But anyway, thank y'all so much for being here. I think we're gonna. This should be the end of the conversation, well, I will once again say, join the Discord where we tend to have a lot of these kind of conversations. We talk in depth in the DMs. We talk in depth about some of these conversations that may be a little bit too heady and or too risque for the normal general audiences. You have questions you want to ask, you come to us. We'll educate you, or you'll educate us, and that's what we're trying to do. Deadly Headley, sir, it was fantastic having you here. I took up way more of your time than I was hoping to. I appreciate you sticking with us, sir. The door is open for you. Whenever you choose to come back, we welcome you here.
Thank you, man.
You're able to roll with the slanderous punches, so we appreciate you as well. Tell the people where they can find you this week, sir.
Thank you again so much for having me. I've really enjoyed my time, and it's been awesome debuting here. Thank you to everybody out on both Twitter and YouTube watching as well. That's really, really awesome. If you've enjoyed listening to me, you can find me on Twitter at deadlyheadley_. That's DEADLYHEADLEY_. Don't forget that, because somebody else has the tag that I really want. And you can also find me on YouTube. For anyone who missed the intro, I am a fairly new content creator. I have about 830 subscribers over the course of 9 months, which is something I'm really, really proud of. I put quite a focus on my production value. I am actually a trained journalist as well, so I really put quite a lot of focus in getting details right and making sure that I can deliver something that is quite compelling and interesting. I try and upload whenever I can. Honestly, my upload schedule is probably going to be very similar to someone like Randall Thor's. I really struggle to roll out content consistently, but do us a favor, throw me a sub, maybe try and get me to 1,000
in the chat.
Really
in
want
the
to get
chat
that
right now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's in the chat right now. We'll put it when the show posts live. We'll put it in the description as well. Great content. I've been checking your stuff out too. Yes.
There's a fair bit of content there, so yeah, there's a lot to go through. And yeah, I work on new content whenever I can. And the last place that you can find me is over at Gaming Arcadia, which is a separate YouTube channel that is run by Asa from Game On Daily. So myself, Asa, and Gamsley, who's also been on this show before, we host an Xbox-centric podcast called the Xbox Series Podcast. We have just done our 12th episode, I think, so we're fairly new there, but we have a lot of fun, a hell of a lot of fun over there. So yeah, please go and check us out over there as well.
Fantastic, sir. We appreciate you being here. We hope to have you back soon. Game Logic, sir. You're a returning guest. You're the returning champion here. We always appreciate your takes. You think deep thoughts, and you give us really good things to think about ourselves when these topics come up. Sir, where can people keep up with you? I see you've been a little bit more prolific in your on your Twitter handle. I don't see as much slander from you these days. What's going on, sir? Where can people keep up with you this week?
You can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going Weekly Games podcast Sunday evenings at 8:45 p.m. ish Eastern time. That's probably where you can catch up with me mostly. Also a co-host on the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, and my YouTube channel is Rounding Off Infinity, where I post my gameplay. Whether it be good or bad, as frequently as I can, and occasionally do a little solo cast talk called Talking About Games, or TAG, where I take topics that are in the news cycle in the gaming zeitgeist and do a deep dive on them and really go back and talk about a lot of the history and a lot of the finances and a lot of the technology, just trying to get more detail out than you typically see on a website posted articles.
From paid journalists.
There you go.
That's the slander, and you see TKO saying I'm trying to be a better person. I left that out of it, but you had to go and inject it.
I am not trying to be a better person, so there you go.
One more really important thing to plug, mainly because both Kay Asante and I are featured on it. Wandering Dutch has got his indie showcase in about half an hour from now. So if you're watching live now, you can find it on Wandering Dutch's channel. Yeah, go check that out. There's a lot of good stuff going
absolutely
into that. And I'm
that is also in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's picked me as the new content creator for the year, which I'm super grateful for, because that means a lot. Excellent. So go and have some fun with the show. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, incidentally, while we're on the topic of news and stuff, did we cover that there's a Xbox Indie Showcase on Monday?
Sure
we
didn't.
will cover that next week because there's just too much news going on and not enough. But you know what?
All
That'll
right,
give us content for
let
next
me-
week.
let-
But go
okay,
ahead,
let
everyone.
me-
Yes.
Asante, let me teach you a broadcasting trick,
Oh,
which
please, yes.
is roll with the punches.
Which we are.
Ex post
We are.
facto,
Yes,
our
sir.
explanation is we wanted all the indie focus to be on Wandering Dutch's show, so we purposely
Yes,
didn't
we-
talk about
That's right.
the
What he
Xbox
said.
Indie
What he
Showcase.
said. Yeah, what he said.
And we will talk about that after
We see what they
Wandering Dutch
have.
gets
That's
all
right.
his flowers.
That's right. We'll talk about them once they've happened and we see what they have. Right now, the focus is on what's happening today in like 30
And
minutes.
I just made that up on the fly. But
Good job, sir. Good job.
I wasn't supposed to say that until we got off air. But whatever. Full disclosure.
Indeed. So while you're talking, Mr. Everborn Saga, tell people where they can keep up with your slander, sir.
On Steam these days, but at everbornsaga.com
With his
you can
PCMR in the bedroom. Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go.
CEG. It's a movement.
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
But we are going to put up the sign up page for the Kickstarter for Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2, which is complete, by the way. We're going to do that on May 1st, so that will be this week. And then the campaign is going to launch somewhere around June 1st. I'm just trying to time it with certain podcasts that I want to be on to launch it. And I'm trying to set up a bunch of interviews that I want to do around that. So I really hope the community can support Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2. I know it's been a long time since the last release, but we've been working this whole time. So we literally have Ariel's Adventure Chapter 2 finished, Redlands, and a new series in production as we speak. So we may get 2 to 3 releases this year alone. So I hope the wait has been, I know it's been a long wait, but hopefully it will be worth it. And I will start sharing the link out so that people can sign up to the watch page for the Kickstarter. But everbornsaga.com in the meantime.
So, and in the meantime, while you wait for the next chapter of the book, maybe you can do what I've been doing with me and my family. The kids love the book. Read the first chapter to get you ready for the next one, so you remember exactly what happened, right? And pretty soon, chapter 2 will drop. We appreciate you for keeping us posted, sir. And hopefully, we see more of your game as well. That's a topic for another day. But for myself, Mr. Everborn Saga, Deadly Headley, and the great Game Logic, it's been a wonderful conversation. Go out there. 28 minutes until CIS 2024. Check them out. But we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Nice to be in orbit.